currently have 10 of them. We just got 4 additional, but we're running 6. The mobile hygiene unit comes with bathrooms, showers. We also get clothes donated, so we give them clean clothes. They count on us being here every Thursday.
Viene otro grupo que es Plaza, viene y les da servicios de housing, comida, limpieza. Viene LA Sand, viene a limpiar para que no haya tanto, mucho suciedad.
This gives them dignity to be able to take a shower, have access to water, a given human right that they get it here. You know, they're very responsive to our Urban Alchemy staff here that partners with us, who some of them have came from the streets themselves and rebuilt themselves. So they're very encouraging.
Today's event is very important because it actually marks our grand opening for this location, what we call Metro Koreatown location for our Community Resource Center. And we are really trying to connect with our community and our health plan members by providing food, groceries, gift cards, and really letting our community know that we're here for them. It's an important time because of the pandemic and the potential of people needing resources like food, groceries, access to things that their families are going to need to basically feel better and survive.
Nos ha afectado en muchas formas, el estrés en todo, en los niños que quieren salir y no pueden salir, quieren estar con sus amigos y no pueden, en nosotros que también tenemos que estar ahí con ellos diciéndoles que no se estresen, que sigan, que pues tenemos que estar así mientras que el gobierno diga algo distinto.
This type of event, because of the pandemic, is specifically designed to help our communities in a drive-through format. People don't have to necessarily get out of the cars. They can just drive through and we'll offer the service. If people don't have a car, they can still come and to be served in our walk-up station.
Pues mal porque podía ver que los niños están en la escuela, en la casa y a veces me hace más difícil estar ayudando al niño también. Oh, pues que muchas gracias por la ayuda que nos brindaron este día y se le da las gracias a todos.
Nosotros estamos abiertos para todo el público, para cualquier persona que lo necesite. Aquí estamos para ustedes. Si ustedes van a nuestro sitio de website, activo, saludable e informado o Active, Healthy, Informed, pueden obtener todos los domicilios de donde tenemos los centros para poder acudir y ser ayudado. Y no importa ningún estatus migratorio, no importa cuánto es la familia, todo mundo es bienvenido. Ahorita por la pandemia estamos más limitados a hacer nuestros eventos de la manera de automóvil para que todo el mundo se sienta sano y seguro. Todos estamos protegidos y estamos aquí para apoyar a la comunidad.
The latest consumer scam involves puppies. The Port of LA steps up cyber defense, and Mayor Garcetti honors an LA Olympian. All this up next on City Beat.
The Better Business Bureau has seen a jump in fraud reports relating to what the city attorney Mike Fuhrer is calling pandemic puppy scams. The scam targets people looking to buy or adopt a puppy via online service. Consumers are charged for the purchase and transport of a pet that never arrives. This scam can be particularly harmful since people are adopting pets to offset feelings of isolation due to the current pandemic.
Another red flag is how they accept payment, almost always through wired funds like MoneyGram or Western Union or prepaid debit cards or Bitcoin or the Zelle app. These make it really hard for you to get your money back. And remember, once you're emotionally invested, you are much easier to scam.
The Los Angeles Board of Harbor Commissioners has approved an agreement with IBM to design and operate a Port Cyber Resilience Center. This first-of-its-kind system will be built to detect and protect against malicious cyber incidents potentially impacting cargo flow. The CRC will also serve as an information resource that stakeholders may use to help restore operations following an attack. This 3-year agreement with IBM includes hardware, software and design, install, maintenance, and more. The center currently serves as a centralized location to proactively monitor the port's own technology environment. Mayor Eric Garcetti paid homage and said farewell to the Los Angeles Olympian decathlete Rafer Johnson. Johnson was the first African-American captain of a U.S. Olympic team in 1960, where he won a gold medal. He lit the Olympic cauldron in 1984 for the opening ceremonies in Los Angeles. He was also a founder of Special Olympics Southern California. To honor Rafer Johnson, LA Memorial Coliseum lit their famous torch in memorial.
Rafer Johnson is LA. He embodies who we are, the way that we've always pushed history forward, and the way that we bring people together.
The Family Entertainment Center Skateland opened its doors in Northridge way back in 1958. During the 60s and the 70s, it saw changes in its ownership. And in 2020, Skateland looks like it may be rolling in a different direction. Here's a story of how Skateland may soon become Hopeland.
Skateland opened originally in 1958 by two brothers, and they operated it for 10 years. And then sold the business to my father in 1968, and that's been in our family since that time. My father sold it to my brother and I in 1978. In mid-March, we were told that we had to close, and we have done so since that time, 8.5 months ago. And even with a PPP loan, which helped us out for a few months, there's just no way that we could continue to operate. I've known Ken Kraft for about 10 years, and I've seen the growth of that organization and the things that they've accomplished in the homeless community. And Ken and I had a conversation about a little over a year ago, and he expressed he knew that my brother and I had been thinking about retirement, and he asked about the building because he always thought that this would be a perfect location for a bridge shelter.
Hope of the Valley is a housing and homeless service provider here in the San Fernando Valley. We are 11 years old at this time. We do have 9 shelters, 2 access centers, and a job center. We're standing in a 23,000 square foot manufacturing building that had been converted many, many years ago to a skating rink, and it has been a tremendous blessing to the community, for families, for youth, for kids. And this building had some challenges only because of the pandemic. This site will be converted into a 100-bed shelter for men and for women. We've had extensive conversation with Councilman John Lee, and our goal is that this site would be really a premier site for homeless services. So on site would be all the amenities that would be needed to help anybody address whatever their challenges might be.
The area is in such dire need of something that will aid the homeless community. And it's just something that I have a heart for. I know my brother does as well. Definitely something that provides a service to the community, as we have done for many years, is something my brother and I wanted.
The Great LA Walk is an annual event designed to motivate Angelenos to get outdoors and explore the city by foot. For 15 years, the walk traditionally happens the Saturday before Thanksgiving, and 2020 was no exception. Although this year, there was a bit of a social distancing twist.
This is our 15th annual Great Los Angeles Walk. Every year it's about community and celebrating, just getting outdoors and seeing Los Angeles and celebrating with your fellow Angeleno. Normally we gather together all at once and there's about 500 or so people. This year we told people, separate yourselves, we're going to be socially distanced. We didn't tell them a set time, so they started whenever they wanted to. So we still have the hundreds of people, but they are spread out throughout Wilshire Boulevard.
There's less pressure to keep up with the group, and we're just kind of doing this on our own and doing it at our own pace. So it's a little bit isolating just doing it by ourselves, but at the same time, when we pass people that we see are doing the same walk, it's nice to see them. It's just a different kind of walk, but it's still nice all the same.
I've been walking with Mike since the first year I started, and some of us take time to check out the architecture, take time to check out the food, which is basically what I'm doing. I ordered a pizza so we can eat while we're walking. This is how you discover your city.
Every year we pick a different street. This year we picked Wilshire, which is the Grand Street of Los Angeles. So we started at the very beginning of Wilshire in downtown, which is at Grand and Wilshire, and we take Wilshire all the way to the ocean in Santa Monica. It's about 15.8 miles. One of the reasons why we did it this year is I think everyone's had a really tough year, and everyone is still being smart, wearing their masks, being safe, but they still need to sort of get outdoors and just like really stretch their legs. Great Los Angeles Walk we do every year the Saturday before Thanksgiving because the weather's perfect and really it's a chance for people to explore the city that they live in.
The current pandemic has touched every aspect of our lives, and we all know what we should be doing to stay safe and healthy. The list of best practices is everywhere, but are we really paying attention anymore? Well, one Los Angeles filmmaker has put together a fun reminder of COVID-19 etiquette.
COVID-19, a public service announcement. Over the course of this film strip, we will outline several important safety guidelines to help you stay safe during a pandemic.
I started out as an actor, did that for most of my upbringing and college, and just a couple years after moving to LA, I decided to switch sides of the camera. I felt like as a director, specifically working in nonfiction content creation, I could have a better impact. For me, it was like the sidewalk stuff that nobody was talking about, not touching like 10 things before you take the one piece of produce that you want. All of that was just observation. So these more nuanced things that people aren't thinking about, part of it was just experiencing it and being like, common sense, people, common sense. And then the other part, it was referencing the CDC's website because it was for a global audience, definitely targeting Americans for sure.
It is important to always wear a mask or face covering when leaving your personal space. These help to protect you and others from this deadly pathogen. You wouldn't want to get mom and pop sick, would you?
It's actually about to be in a 10th drive-in theater. It just got picked up by a student organization that is creating a drive-in in Oahu. So they're going to be using it when the drive-in is up. So now we're in 7 states and 10 drive-ins, and the work isn't finished. I still have drive-ins that might want to use it for other things that I'm pitching it to. I'm still trying to get more views on YouTube, and I'm still hoping people apply it, because that's the most important thing, is like the video doesn't do much good if it doesn't actually impact people's actions. I'm trying to help our community, our city, all I want to do with that time is do something to help and to make an impact. And I really wish there was more funding out there for the arts and for artists.
Thanks for watching this public service announcement on COVID-19. And remember, staying informed will help you and your loved ones stay safe.
Even in sunny Los Angeles, residents enjoy sights and sounds of the winter season. Well, a new drive-thru experience has lords a-leaping and trees glistening just in time for the holidays.
Wonderland is a chance for people to get out of their houses and in a safe environment of their car, drive through and get the experience of the Christmas lights and some of the other holidays of the time, and really get a feel for something of traveling through zones and being immersed in the decorations of December. We built different sets. We had a couple of sets that we redecorated for the new holiday, and really brought out what we could and tried to find different aspects of the different holidays of December to represent, and then make sure we had Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus and some elves, and we've got skating snowflakes and stilt walking toy soldiers and all sorts of stuff all over the place. The people who are coming to visit are all staying within their cars. So if you're going to roll down your windows, we are telling you to wear your mask, please. And we are trying to create that environment where all of the performers, all of the things you're looking at are distanced away enough that you can still experience them wonderfully, but it's safe for everybody. The hours of the event are 4:30 in the afternoon until 10 o'clock at night. And we're going right now, which is December 1st. Technically, we started November 30th, and we're going through December 30th, except for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
In our feature segment this week, we are visited by the General Manager of the Economic Workforce Development Department. Our own Maria Hall Brown sits down with Carolyn Hall to discuss the many ways the department can be of service to residents of Los Angeles.
COVID-19 brought with it an enormous amount of disruptions and questions. But when it comes to employment opportunities, fortunately, Los Angeles has a resource for some really good answers. Carolyn Hall, the General Manager of the Economic Workforce Development Department. So nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
In terms of what your office is hearing, what are the businesses that you've heard most from and have been mostly impacted by COVID-19 in Los Angeles?
Well, it's really had a very heavy hit on the accommodation, the hotel, in the motel, tourist industries, the airline industry. We've been working very closely with the organizations and companies at LAX, restaurants, services. Those are the types of industries. Small businesses in general have been really heavily impacted by COVID-19.
What can you offer them? What kind of advice can be provided in this time?
Well, we have several sources that we can provide. First of all, we have our work source centers, which allow individuals to go and virtually meet with individuals right now to talk about their skill sets and to talk about employment that's currently out there, because there are organizations and companies that are growing. Also, we also provide them services in just understanding how to fill out the unemployment benefits. That is really difficult. We're not the entity that actually executes it,
right,
but we are the group that can sit down and help you understand where to get health insurance, how to fill out the unemployment benefits package, and really be there for support in terms of maybe helping individuals understand where child care is available, because oftentimes, particularly for women, child care is a really big issue. You couldn't even go back into the workforce unless there's child care available.
If people want to find out more, and if people have some questions, and if people want some information, where can they find all of this?
The best place for them to go is to go to our website, which is ewddlacity.com.
Thanks.
Take care.
Catch an online series that highlights LA artists, check out a Christmas parody sketch show, or explore the joy and wonder of fruit trees. All this up next on Virtual Things to Do.
The Music Center wants you to enjoy For the Love of LA, a new digital series designed to celebrate the creativity of Los Angeles and to support LA-based artists. The series includes programming in various disciplines: music, dance, visual culture, and more.
From the beginning of the time that we had to shut down our venues, the Music Center was really looking for a way to continue to engage local artists here in Los Angeles and to hopefully, inspire Los Angeles residents with the diversity and resiliency of our artistic community.
Check out the work of LA's finest homegrown photographers like Rafael Cardenas and Dominique Moody. Be sure to check out For the Love of LA, streaming now through December 31st. For more information, visit musiccenter.org. The Whitefire Theater invites you to Santasia, a holiday streaming special. This side-splitting holiday sketch comedy with dynamic music parodies, heartfelt sentiment, and classic-inspired claymation movies will conjure up joyous memories of your own. A 21-year Los Angeles holiday theater tradition goes online. Don't miss Santasia, a holiday streaming special. For tickets and information, visit Santasia.com. The Los Angeles Public Library brings you gardening program Alternative Fruit Trees to Plant. Join Master Gardener Jeff Warner for an online discussion about 4 fruit tree alternatives to citrus trees.
We want to encourage people to tap into a part of their life where they can empower themselves to grow their own food, develop the confidence to bring plants and flowers and trees into their life, and to benefit from it.
Catch the workshop online, compliments of the LA Public Library. Gardening program Alternative Fruit Trees to Plant streams Friday, December 18th at 3 p.m. For participation details, send your email to jcfrmt@lapl.org. And that's a look at some virtual things to do.
That's it for this edition. I'm Natalia Bilbao. From all of us here at LA This Week, thank you so much for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. See you next time for more LA This Week.
I need Mr. Ridley Thomas, can you please turn on your video feed? Mr. Krikorian, can you please turn on your video feed? Thank you, sir. Mr. De Leon.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning. Paul, good morning.
Morning, Paul.
Mark, welcome. Good to see you.
Welcome back, Mark.
Yes, welcome back, Mark.
Mr. De Leon, can you please turn on your video feed, sir?
All good in the neighborhood. Back at it.
I don't have it.
MRT back in City Hall.
And we'll start in 3, 2, 1.
Good morning and welcome to the Los Angeles City Council. Today is Tuesday, December 15th. I'm Nuri Martinez, the President of the City Council. We will begin this meeting with our swearing in of all council members from even-numbered districts. So let's go ahead and welcome our City Clerk, Holly Wolcock, who's here on council chambers with me to conduct the swearing in. Holly, you want to go ahead and join me? I'm going to go ahead and step down and you can take my place. Hold on for just a second.
Good morning. My name is Holly Wolcott, and I am the City Clerk for the City of Los Angeles, and it is my honor and privilege to swear in the even-numbered council districts who were most recently elected. So if those even-numbered council districts could raise your prominent hand and repeat after me.
Okay.
I state your name.
I, Nuri
Mark
Martinez,
Ridley Thomas.
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly
Do
swear
solemnly swear.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will
I will support the Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the State of California,
the
Constitution of the State of California.
and the Charter of the City of Los Angeles,
and
And the Charter of the City of Los Angeles.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
And I will faithfully discharge the duties
of council member of,
Council member of the Second Council District.
I could say, please state your district, according to the best of my ability.
According to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations, you are all sworn in, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Is this going to be Sinclair's first term in office?
Well, congratulations to our new members and welcome to the Los Angeles City Council. I'd like to give an opportunity to Councilwoman Nitha Raman to go ahead and say a few words. Good morning.
Good morning, Council President. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak today, and thank you to all my fellow council members for giving me the space to say a few words this morning. I just wanted to take a moment to talk about what this day and the city and being here with all of you means to me. I'm an immigrant to the US. I was born in Kerala, India, and I've lived in a number of places since then. But it wasn't until I moved to Los Angeles that I finally felt like I had come home, that I had come to a place that would be home for me. This is the only city that I've ever really felt like I'm home. It is a place where my husband and I chose to have a family and to raise our children because I know they will always be welcomed here. My husband is a South Asian. He's a son of Madurai and Tirunelveli in the south of India. and I'm a daughter of Thrissur and Thiruvananthapuram. And now I get to represent Los Angeles. I would never have run for office in any other city. I simply wouldn't have dreamed it was even possible anywhere else. That's the power of America, and that's the power of LA. I believe so powerfully that there is nowhere else on earth like Los Angeles. It's so thrilling, it's so magnificent. It has so much stunning natural and human diversity. It's a place where people can come from anywhere in the world and they can feel welcomed, they can find community, they can build their dreams here. And yet, I think just as vast as the city's capacity for joy has been, so too has been its tolerance for suffering. So many people haven't been welcomed here like I was, especially in recent years. And economic forces now are pushing people out of their homes, onto the streets and out of the city, not just newcomers, families who've been here for many, many decades. In particular, working families, so many Black and brown families, families of color who are facing pressures that amount to a form of racial banishment. We're living the effects of climate emergency as well, worsening drought, fires, air quality. These are also falling hardest on LA's low-income communities of color. And today we face a health and economic catastrophe that has brought so much pain on our community and simultaneously has crippled our city's capacity to respond, with so much pain still to come. And I feel the weight of this moment so heavily. It hangs on my heart. The suffering being felt all over the city is with me every day. But that's why I'm so grateful to be in this seat on one of the most powerful city legislative bodies in the country. It's such a joy, it's such a privilege to be in a position to be able to help people in this moment, to create those needed policies, to create networks of support, to govern in coalition with the residents and with all of you. The 15 of us here, our mayor, our attorney, our controller, and the 35,000 others who work alongside us for this city get to wake up and to do that work every single day, and now I get to do it too. You, my colleagues, have so much more experience in this position than I do, and than most on my team do. You know this feeling so well. It's an honor to be able to share this responsibility with you and to learn from your work. I want to thank all of you for reaching out and for making me feel so welcome here already. I'm so thrilled at the opportunities before us to really collaborate. The final thing I want to acknowledge today is that because of changes in how these elections were conducted, we had more voter participation in this past city council election than any in LA history. But that means that more Angelenos than ever are looking to our government for solutions. To all of the thousands of volunteers and the passionate team who gave their all to this city council race, to the residents of Council District 4, from Sherman Oaks to Silver Lake, Hollywood, Miracle Mile, Toluca Lake, Los Feliz, Hancock Park, and Koreatown, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to work as hard as I can for each and every one of you. I am so humbled that you've put your trust in me. And to every resident of this city, I'm here for you and you're here with me. Thank you for your support and for your presence. And I'm so excited to get started on this journey with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman Rahman. Let's give her a big round of applause, even if it's virtually. Thank you. Councilmember Mark Ridley Thomas, would you like to say a few words, sir?
Morning, Madam President and members of the council. Delighted to be here this morning and to say that I'm grateful to be here, a reasonable portion of health and strength. Grateful to the people of the 10th Council District who saw fit to cause me to return to a city government, specifically the City Council, with the intention to practice the best principles of servant leadership. Thankful to my family, to those who have stood with me and by me and who have encouraged me in this journey, and it has been quite a journey. I'm a resident of the community known as Leimert Park. I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Los Angeles. I have had extraordinary opportunities in this city. It is my assignment to expand that, to express that, to cause it to be animated in the lives of people far and wide in this district, the 10th district, and the city of Los Angeles as a whole. I consider it an honor and a privilege to be here, to work with you. I think I will continue to do what I've done, to learn, to listen, and to lead. For me, that is a winning formula. Representing the 10th district and the people of the 10th district is no doubt an honor. I consider it to be a privilege. It's an opportunity to make real the promise of Los Angeles. For me, Madam President, that promise speaks to fairness. That promise speaks to equity. Colleagues, that promise speaks to a better tomorrow. The world, I suspect it's fair to say, is quite different from when I first joined this body some 29 years and 6 months ago. The record will reflect that I had a little more hair and a lot less girth, but I'm here. I just want to make it plain that I'm here to do the people's business. The question of the differences with which we contend today cannot be ignored or underestimated. Obviously, the city has experienced tremendous growth, and there are a number of markers of progress to point to, but equally clear is the contradiction that we have to come to grips with, namely the persistent phenomenon of the inequities that are fairly widespread and cannot be ignored. It's become even more acute, I think it has to be said, that in the face of an unrelenting pandemic, ensuring familial and economic disruption, we have a lot of work to do. So I'm here to help address a fair amount of unfinished business. And chief among that work is to address what I consider the defining issue, that is the moral crisis of our time, and that is homelessness. And I've asked the clerk to introduce into the record today my first motion before this body. And I take the opportunity, Madam President, to thank Councilmember O'Farrell for co-authoring, and to you, Madam President, for seconding this motion. The objective is simply this: as a governing body, we must get to a place where we no longer talk about homelessness as a challenge that can be addressed, a few projects and a few policies at a time. Instead, we must commit to a framework that paves the way for all Angelenos to have a right to housing. We know this is ambitious, and this will require reprioritization of resources and collaboration with all levels of government. But it simply must be done if we won't allow ourselves to be defined as those who have done too little in the face of a whole lot. We don't want to have our fellow Angelenos, I don't believe, to continue to perish in these streets. And addressing this crisis requires what I would like to say is a fortified wallet and clear intention. Excuses don't count, and inattention is simply unacceptable. Assembly members Rivas and Chu have introduced AB 71, which proposes that $2.4 billion be allocated across the state annually to support the infrastructure needed to get after this issue in earnest. And I urge this city to support this. And my accompanying resolution begins that effort. Colleagues, we have much to do in this regard and on so many other issues that impact the lives of our constituents. Los Angeles is, according to the pollsters, an issue-rich environment. Stated differently, we have to multitask. We cannot afford to be one-dimensional in our pursuit of justice, in our pursuit of effective governance. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to do that work right here. There's no better laboratory than the Los Angeles City Council to carry on the business of municipal services. And with that, Madam President and members of the council, I once again thank you for this opportunity to work with you, to collaborate with you, and I look forward to the journey ahead. Madam President.
Thank you very much, sir, and welcome to the both of you. Welcome to your Los Angeles City Council. Madam Clerk, we're going to go ahead and start our meeting. Why don't you go ahead and call the roll?
Councilmember Blumenfield.
Blumenfield present.
Bonin.
Bonin present.
Buscaino.
Here.
Cedillo.
Cedillo present.
De Leon.
Here.
Harris Dawson.
Here.
Koretz.
Here.
Krikorian.
Here.
Lee.
Present.
Martinez.
Present.
O'Farrell.
Present.
Price.
Present.
Rahman.
Present.
Ridley Thomas.
Here.
Rodriguez.
Here.
15 members and a quorum, Madam President.
All right, thank you. First order of business.
Approval of the minutes of December 9th.
Okay, Mr. De Leon moves and Ms. Rahman seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Harris Dawson moves and Mr. Mark Ridley Thomas seconds. Next.
Madam President, today is Tuesday and time for the flag salute.
Mr. Buscaino, can you please join us in the lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Great honor, Madam President. I pledge allegiance to the flag
The flag of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Buscaino. Members, let's go ahead and run through the agenda. Madam Clerk,
Madam President, would council like all items to go forthwith today?
without objection, that will be the order next.
Items 1 through 7 are items noticed for public hearing. Items 8 through 22 are items for which public hearings have been held. Items 23 through 41 are items for which public hearings have not been held. Item 26 should be held on the desk for an amending motion. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, without objections, those items are now before us. Members, do you wish to call any of these items special? Mr. O'Farrell?
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, items 6 for clarification and item 20 for the same purpose. Actually, item 20 for comments. Thank you.
Okay, is there an amending motion on item number 6 for clarification or?
There is not.
Okay. All right, so items 6 and 20 for Mr. O'Farrell for comments. Mr. De Leon?
Thank you very much, Madam President. I'm requesting to continue file item number 28
to the next city council meeting when we return from recess to allow time for my office to review the provision on affordable housing and the SKIA in this project.
Okay, with that objection, that will be the order.
And
yes, Mr.
Madam President, also to file item number 24, just for remarks.
24 for remarks.
I'm checking.
And Madam Clerk, there's been a request to go ahead and continue item 28.
Yes, and the first council meeting back after the recess would be January 12th.
Okay, very well, thank you. And hold item 24 for comments from Mr. De Leon as well.
Thank you.
Any others, Mr. De Leon?
No, that will be it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oops, I was on mute.
Start.
Okay, members, are there any other items that you wish to call special? Okay, I will call item number 28 special, Madam Clerk, for a technical amendment. I'm sorry, 26. Can you go ahead and read the technical amendment for me?
Yes, Madam President. Recommendation number 1 on the amending motion for number 26 is to adopt the resolution attached to the council file, which extends the provision of ordinance number 186504, imposing temporary interim regulations prohibiting the construction or operation of private detention centers and community detention facilities for unaccompanied minors in the city for an extension period of 1 year, inasmuch as the appropriate city agencies and officials are exercising due diligence and actively working toward the adoption of the appropriate permanent land use regulatory controls. The second moving clause requests the city attorney, in consultation with the planning department, to prepare and present an ordinance prohibiting the construction or operation of private detention centers and community detention facilities for unaccompanied minors.
Second.
That's been seconded by Mr. Cedillo.
Thank you.
Mr. O'Farrell?
Thank you, Madam President. The clarification on item 6 is as follows. I would like to move to approve the determination of public convenience or necessity for the off-site consumption at Target located at 7021 Hollywood Boulevard, Suite 100.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Yeah, two public convenience necessity.
Mr. Cedillo to second. Any others? Mr. O'Farrell?
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bonin?
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to note we've provided to the clerk a copy of a Rule 23 reward motion. Just wanted to ask if you needed me to do anything with that prior to public comment or just wait until later.
Do it now. Why don't you go ahead and read it now, right before we take public comment. Go ahead.
Thank you, colleagues. I've submitted a motion today asking for Rule 23 consideration of a reward motion regarding a murder of a 28-year-old mother of 2 in Venice on December 1st. And the motion would read that by adoption of the motion, the council provide an offer of reward for information leading to the identification, apprehension, and conviction of the person or persons responsible for the shooting death of Kai Thomas on December 1, 2020, and in support thereof, make the following findings. Then it lists the appropriate findings. And further move that the clerk be directed to cause notices and or advertisements to be duly published according to the requirements of Division 6, Chapter 12, Article 1 of the Administrative Code, and cause the offer of reward to become effective.
I'll second the Rule 23.
Okay, that's been seconded by Mr. Buscaino. So, Mr. Bonin, we're going to go ahead and vote on the findings and the motion towards the end of the meeting.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Mr. Bonin, I've actually been advised by the city attorney that we're going to go ahead and vote on the findings now so we can take public comment.
Okay.
So you just stated the findings for us, and there's been a second by Mr. Buscaino. So why don't we go ahead and vote on the findings now? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Bonin.
Bonin, aye.
Buscaino.
Aye.
Cedillo.
Cedillo, aye.
De Leon.
Aye.
Harris Dawson.
Yes.
Koretz.
Aye.
Krikorian.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Martinez.
Aye.
O'Farrell.
Aye.
Price.
Aye.
Rahman.
Aye.
Ridley Thomas.
Aye.
Rodriguez.
Aye.
15 ayes, the findings are approved.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and vote on the matter towards the end of our meeting after public comment. Madam Clerk, what items are available to vote on?
At this time, council may vote on items 8 through 19 and 21 and 22.
Okay, let's go ahead and prepare to vote on those items. Please call the roll.
Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Bonin.
Bonin, aye.
Buscaino.
Aye.
Cedillo.
Cedillo, aye.
De Leon.
Aye.
Harris Dawson.
Yes.
Koretz.
Aye.
Krikorian.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Martinez.
Aye.
O'Farrell.
Aye.
Price.
Aye.
Rahman.
Aye.
Ridley Thomas.
Aye.
Rodriguez.
Aye.
15 ayes, these items are adopted.
Okay, Madam Clerk, let's go ahead and prepare to move into public comment. Can you go ahead and read the caller information followed by the city attorney?
Thank you, Madam President. And as indicated on the agenda, members of the public wishing to offer public comment should call 669-254-5252 and use meeting ID number 160-535-8466 and press pound. Press pound again when prompted for participant ID. Once admitted into the meeting, press star 9 to request to speak. Finally, when you hear the last 4 digits of your phone number, press star 6. And again, members of the public may call 669-254-5252 and use meeting ID number 160-535-8466 and press pound. Press pound again when prompted for participant ID. Once admitted into the meeting, press star 9 to request to speak. And finally, when you hear the last 4 digits of your phone number, press star 6.
So to members of the public calling in, when it's your turn to speak, please state which of the agenda items you'd like to speak on. You have 1 minute per item to speak, up to 3 minutes total, and if you wish, 1 minute for general public comment. Please speak on the items first before providing general public comment. We'll tell you when your time is up. When speaking on the agenda items, you must be on topic. Our goal is to get through as many speakers as we can. If you're not speaking on topic, or if we can't tell whether you're speaking on topic, you'll get 1 brief warning from me or the president. If you do not immediately get clearly on topic or again stray off topic, the president will cut you off and you'll forfeit the rest of your speaking time, and we'll move on to the next speaker. We'll take 40 minutes total of public comment in this public comment period. The items that are open for public comment are items 1 through 7, 23 to 41, Mr. Bonin's Rule 23 that was just introduced and the findings were voted on, in election of council leadership. Finally, for members of the public calling in to speak, as soon as you hear someone address you, you're live in the council meeting. If you are also listening to the council meeting on your computer, channel 35, or other device, please turn down the volume of those devices immediately. Because there's a time delay between the live meeting and the broadcast, we ask that you keep one ear on the phone, and we read out when you hear the last 4 digits of your phone number, or if you're calling with a blocked number, other identifying information, please press star 6 immediately so that you can tell us which items you'd like to speak on. Please don't just listen on the computer or other device. Because of the time delay, we may think you're no longer on the line. And finally, if you're also listening on the computer or other device, please turn down the volume on those devices immediately when you hear us call your identifying information. Otherwise, there'll be confusion because of the time delay and possible feedback. Thank you, Madam President. We're ready for public comment.
Let's go ahead and take the first caller.
Caller with the phone number ending in 7719, please press star 6. Caller with the phone number ending in 7719, please press star 6. Caller with the phone number ending in 7719, please press star 6. Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Thank you. It's Eric Krevin, and I'll speak on the agenda items as well as general public comments.
You have
for
3
starters,
minutes for the items, followed
I'd like
by
to
1
say
minute for general. Please
congratulations
begin.
to the 2020 Mills Act Historical Property Contract Signers, which is about 21 properties who are going to be getting what we affectionately like to describe as a tax break. It's because they've agreed to some terms to fix up the place with their money, because most of them are fairly well-to-do but live in places that the city has decided we want to keep. And looking over this is obviously Lambert Geisinger and Ken Bernstein from planning, who have a very good sense of what works well for this kind of giveaway to the people. So congratulations, it's very, very exciting. Obviously the winner is Gil Cedillo for handing out the most of those. Nobody loves handing out those agreements more than Gil Cedillo, other than Mr. Ridley Thomas, who's back and I think Mr. Ridley Thomas may have initiated this program. Everybody loves this program for the following reasons. Everybody's happy you get a tax break. I mean, if you said, sir, instead of paying your $8,000 or $12,000 in property taxes, you're only going to pay half or less. You'd say, where do I sign? And how quickly do I sign? So, it's great. And when a politician makes it happen, like Mr. Ridley Thomas or Mr. Wesson is excellent at signing these people up, and certainly Weezer signed up many of his folks. Once you get them in there, they're indebted to you for life. Think of all that money they're saving, so it's always around Hanukkah and Christmas, excellent time to pop over an 800 to the office holder or anything else. Now, you may say, why are we subsidizing the richest people in the nicest houses? You're disrupting the meeting, sir. I'm going to get on to the next item, which is that we've got some wonderful alcohol licenses coming up for the holiday season. The one little caveat, and it's great to booze up wherever we can, obviously, especially during these bitter pandemic times. I recommend drinking. What I don't recommend is our policy of running over our pedestrians over and over and over again, to the point where we have signs from Jacob Emrani at the sites where people get hurt, yet we still don't really solve. Now, Bonin, nobody's done a better job of talking about fixing the transportation than Bonin and Seleta Reynolds, and I hope that they can get it done. Now, speaking of transportation and bad ideas, the street sweeping initiatives, I know I saw an item on there, are pernicious during the pandemic, because what they do, which is a nice idea to move around the dirt on the street, even let's say they do a little cleaning, what is not okay is, and this happened to Sumya Karmajala, who's a LA Times reporter, she is diligent and followed the rule, moved her vehicle from side A to side B of the street, but side B had signs put up that were all taken down and fallen off, which has happened repeatedly, so it raises questions, and she had to, if you can believe it, fish her car out of the impound. So this is, for those who don't know, a multi-$100 charge if you catch it quickly and you have the resources to get your vehicle out. So all I can say is bad, very, very bad. We need to reform these policies. And also, the preferential parking district, I'll take one quick shot at how appalling it is to hold the parking in neighborhoods for the people who have parking in the neighborhood already, so that people can't park and then can only get ticketed and tortured. Whereas once again, affluent folks can get for $35 a little placard to park all year long. It's appalling. And in final, I guess in conclusion, I assume we're heading to the end here. I just want to point out how disappointed I am that the City Council continues to schedule meetings in a weird way that does not include Friday meetings. And also, Falble, it's worth noting,
You may move on to general
Point
public
that those
comment
who
if you
called
wish,
in
Ms. Previn.
were unable to hear the dust from the south.
Thank you, Mr. Previn. Your time is up. Next speaker.
Caller with the phone number ending in 0098, please press *6. Please state your name and the item you'd like to speak on.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Lori Jean, and I'm the CEO of the Los Angeles LGBT Center. And on behalf of the LGBTQ community this morning, I wanted to congratulate City Council President Martinez on her re-election and to acknowledge the pivotal role that she plays in our city. We are thrilled to have a strong Latina leading the council for another year. And while President Martinez is a role model for everyone, she is an especially powerful role model for women and people of color. Plus, President Martinez is a longtime supporter of the LGBTQ community and of all people who suffer bigotry and discrimination in our society. That's a really vital perspective for any city council member. Most important, strong leadership like hers is exactly what our city needs as we face the current health crisis and the likely economic crisis on the horizon. As we know from her first year as council president, she will not forget the most vulnerable in our community and the organizations that serve them, like the Los Angeles LGBT Center. So congratulations, Nuri, and congratulations also to everyone who was elected in November, especially the brand new members who represent districts in which the LGBT Center has locations. Council members Rahman, Ridley Thomas, and De Leon. And finally, happy holidays to all of our friends on the City Council. Please be well and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lori. Thank you. Happy holidays to you too. Next speaker.
That was refreshing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Farrell. Next speaker.
Caller with the phone number ending in 4959, please press *6.
General public comment.
Sure, you have a minute. Please begin.
My name is Jocelyn Duarte, Executive Director of the Salvadoran American Leadership and Educational Fund. Today, the Council will continue to make history by voting in support of the re-election of the first Latina president to lead this council. This will solidify the message to our city, county, and the state that Los Angeles City Council is committed to gender equity. Gender equity means that women are represented and are at the table making decisions. Representation matters, and it is of great importance that young girls of color see themselves in President Martinez, representing women of color and immigrant families. California is leading the country in gender equity by having Vice President-elect California Senator Kamala Harris, the first woman of color and of immigrant background in the White House. In the midst of the global pandemic that has shown the inequities that exist within the communities of colors, we need President Martinez to continue her work to ensure that families in Los Angeles have equitable access to food, housing, and other critical resources. Her leadership is exemplary of the intersections of race, class, sexuality,
Thank you,
and
caller.
gender.
Next speaker.
Caller with the phone number ending in 1248, please press *6. Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Hi, this is Mimi from CD4. I'd like to speak on item 25 and general public comment, please.
You have 1 minute for each. Go ahead.
Thanks. For 25, this one will probably be quick because I don't expect you guys to really push back on this. It seems pretty obvious that we need to extend the emergency declaration. I mean, the COVID spread has only gotten worse in LA, and it's likely going to spike again after the holidays, so we really need to extend it. Moving on to general comment, I'd like to congratulate Nithya. I'm so excited to have you serving my district, and I look forward to seeing what you can do. We need to help renters by canceling the rent. I literally just got a COVID test because I was exposed at work. I wouldn't have to do that if you guys canceled the rent and paid people to stay home. Also, if we're under a stay-at-home order, why are parking restrictions being enforced? This is so obviously ridiculous and being used as a way to ticket people. We have the resources to house everyone in Los Angeles. It's abhorrent to me that you would rather drag your feet and take such a roundabout approach to it because what, money? Remember, 4 unhoused people die every day in LA, and that directly falls upon you. And like, oh, Farrell, that was refreshing, huh? You don't like people pointing out that you're bad at your job? If you do better, people won't be so pissed off all the time. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Caller with the phone number ending in 9917, please press *6. Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Hi, I'd like to speak on item 41 in general public comment.
You have 1 minute for each. Go ahead.
Okay, item 41 restricts parking on oversized vehicles between the hours of 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. on a short stretch of road in Sylmar, where it's across the street from a Metrolink station, and on the other side of the street is a gated community. It's a very short stretch of street that leads from San Fernando Road into First Street. And I wonder why this is on the agenda, how this makes it to the agenda when all you're doing is restricting parking for people who are living in their cars because they don't have housing in the city, and you guys don't have any options for them. And so I don't see how this helps people by adding potential criminalization ticketing to people living in their cars on a quiet stretch of road, again, across the street from a Metrolink station and from a gated community. So I don't see how there's an imposition there on that road. I think it's really just more probably members of that gated community getting in touch with their council member to do them a favor, to criminalize and further harass people without housing in the city. And so I would urge all the council to not approve this and to really, I see a lot of people, making remarks about homelessness and how much you guys care, very performatively, but then things like this end up on the agenda, and they're just a reflection really more of, just rich neighbors complaining loudly to their council districts, and that's how they get things done for them. But, I'm assuming the people who are living in those cars who are going to be getting criminalized, if they had access to their council members the way these rich people did, they would have a completely different story to tell and would focus more on services than just kicking people out. Moving on to general public comment, Mark Ridley Thomas, as much as I would like to congratulate you for joining the council today, you're posting on Twitter pretty much Olympics propaganda. And for all the things that you mentioned in your opening remarks, I don't see how support for the Olympics squares up with that. Olympics will only bring more criminalization of homeless people, more cops, more people in jails. And I don't think any of what you're talking about would square up logically with any support of the Olympics.
Thank you, Speaker. Next speaker.
Caller with the phone number ending in 7059, please press *6.
Zachary Warma calling on general public comment.
Do you have 1 minute? Go ahead.
Good morning, council members. Zachary Warma, Public Affairs Lead at the Downtown Women's Center here. As you begin this new council session, on behalf of DWC, we want to extend our best wishes to Councilmember Rahman on her first council meeting and Councilmember Ridley Thomas for his return to chambers. As two tireless champions for unhoused Angelenos and our neighbors dangerously at the margins, we are so excited to be working with you both. Reflecting on what was a dramatic year, both nationally and here in Los Angeles, DWC wishes to convey our deep appreciation to Council President Martinez, who is the first Latina and woman of color council president in the city's history, led the effort to make Los Angeles the first city in the United States to formally designate unaccompanied women as a recognized homeless subpopulation. By calling out the unique needs of unhoused women and designating strategies to address those needs, a robust implementation of the council president's historic motion will make an extraordinary difference in the lives of the over 13,300 women who remain unhoused in the city today. This racial and gender equity lens and a continued emphasis on the well-being of families will enable this council to make further strides in improving the well-being of all Angelenos. We very much look forward to our continued partnership with the council president and this entire council in the coming year as we work to end homelessness for women in Los Angeles. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Caller with the phone number ending in 3724, please press *6.
Yes, Brady Collins, general public comment.
You have 1 minute. Go ahead.
Yes, my name is Brady Collins, policy analyst with the Koreatown Immigrant Workers Alliance. Kiwa's mission is to build power for low-wage immigrant workers and tenants, and we've been doing so for nearly 30 years. Those we work with are severely rent burdened and are employed in low-wage industries, many of which have been shut down due to the pandemic. With little to no income, they've been struggling to feed their families and pay the bills. They're accumulating rent debts, but not the income necessary to pay it off. At some point, the bill will be due, and our members and many other communities of color will be unable to pay for the roof over their heads. To prevent mass evictions and further homelessness, the city needs to set up a mortgage and small landlord relief program and be vocal in calling for federal funding to be allocated for this purpose. The federal government is not going to do this without pressure, and you all should be our biggest advocates. Set an example and create the type of program needed to protect tenants now. In addition to landlord relief, the city should fight for better loan terms. The City of LA currently pays $1.1 billion on interest and fees of its current municipal loans. These loans should be refinanced.
Thank you, Speaker. Next speaker.
Caller with the phone number ending in 4024, please press *6. Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Good morning, you cunt. I'd like to speak on item 1 through 7, 23, 41, and the special 23 for a starter.
Okay, you have four. Mr. Herman, you've got 3 minutes.
You can start the meetings at 10:30. They start at 10.
Mr. Herman, you've got 3 minutes for your comments, for all your items.
What about my PC?
And 1 minute for general public comment. Go ahead.
Tell the asshole attorney that's 4 minutes for starters. Thanks for the tax breaks. Shout out. What a fucking giveaway. Thank you, Chongo. Everybody likes Chongos who give out tax breaks, Ridley Thomas. Where do I sign? Where do I sign? Always around the pagan holidays we get a tax break? That's ridiculous. We should have tax breaks all the time, especially now when we're in a crisis, Ridley Tom's bomb. What about the street cleaning raises? Have you checked that out? That was a question Mr. Previn, for the record, pointed out. Impounding niggers' vehicles. Bad, bad, bad shit. And what's discouraging is this economic budget. When the LGBT requires an influence of equitability. That's a big word, Mr. Chongo Ridley Thomas, but I got it under control. Number 25, quit extended emergency for what? We have an influence of corruption in LA. We have several federal indictments against bribery concerning programs receiving federal and state funds, in which the broken promise, as you heard the last speaker before I came on say, it's fucked up that you put people out of their cars for parking and not in housing. And again, this surge, this crisis, this science of pandemic, ridiculous. Right? Ridiculous. How horrible that the attorney false statements to a financial institution for corruption. A pattern and practice by you, Fuhrer, and your shithole crew of criminals and corruption. Now, number 41. Parking in Stillmart, the gentleman was right. How does a nigger get rest if he can't sleep in an area that's not by your restricted zones of housing, where, again, going back to taxpayers, pay taxes and should not have interruptions? But no,
Point of order, Madam President.
Hold on for just a second. Can we hold the speaker's time, Mr. Ridley Thomas?
Madam President, this matter of racially charged language is hugely problematic for me. Been in this business too long to have to be subjected to racially derogating rhetoric, and frankly not inclined to put up with it. So either the speaker needs to be asked to refrain, or this body needs to do what it needs to do to appropriately discourage and even shut down racial epithets. They are provocative.
Now you wanna suppress me.
Hold on for just a second, Mr. Herman. Can we mute him, please? Mr. Ridley Thomas, I'm going to go ahead and ask the city attorney to address your concerns. We've been dealing with this type of racist, sexist remarks for as long as I've been on the city council now, for going on 8 years. Mr. City Attorney, would you like to address this? And then we need to continue back on Mr. Herman.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. So I am completely sympathetic to what Councilmember Ridley Thomas is saying. Unfortunately, the First Amendment really limits our ability to restrict remarks, though racist and sexist, which are on topic. We've talked about this at length before, and it's complicated, I know, but I would be happy, Councilman, to talk to you in private about the legal issues involved here.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Through the chair, I wish simply to say that I seek not sympathy and not discourse on complexity as it relates to the law. I seek to have an opportunity to come to the council meetings and not be subjected to a barrage of racially derogating remarks. Any such remarks aimed at a class of people that would otherwise be protected by the same law to which you refer, as well as any other immutable difference that an individual may experience. Madam President, I choose not to belabor the point. I have said on any number of bodies, this is a subjective zone of ruling, and it should not be tolerated. It has to be discouraged in every way possible. It is incendiary. It is disruptive. Not to mention that it is fundamentally offensive and has no place in our meetings. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Ridley Thomas. I completely agree with you. We're going to convene a meeting with the city attorney's office to continue to discuss this issue. Mr. Herman, back to you.
Mommy, am I back on? Can you hear me?
Mr. Herman, just continue on the items. You've got your 1 minute of general public comment left.
Now, as far as these adverse actions mentioned by the speaker against my advocating for or against the projects of what you're doing with criminal corruption, RICO, wasn't it really Thomas who stole state money when building those units out there in his district in the county? Wasn't his son involved in turning his garage? Oh, I'm sorry, it was you, Ridley Thomas, having county workers spend our taxpaying money to fix your garage, fool. Now, going back to development, Jose Luis Huizar always had the boss pattern and practice of corruption like some of you. The sufficient evidence of threats surrounding my First Amendment, my 14th Amendment, and the nerve of you to silence 42 U.S.C. 1983. Fuck you. You got it? Is it clear? Bribery?
Next speaker. Hold on for just a second before you call the next speaker. Mr. De Leon.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I won't belabor the issue because I just want to underscore what the newest council member just articulated so well. Me being a new member of this august body. I've never have seen, experienced such outbursts of racial profanities, homophobic, profanities, sexist profanities that are how you've been targeted, Madam President, and trust me, subjectively, that angers me that a Latina woman, a woman of color, a woman who's ascended to the presidency of the City Council is subjective because of the first constitutional right, supposedly, that these individuals have. I would say the following. I would like to follow through with you and whichever council members, and whether it's a special session, a closed session, or it's a session with a handful of members, speaking with the city attorney, because I think it's just unprofessional. It happens in these subcommittees or the committees as well too. We have African-American staff who are subjected to the N-word dropping so openly and freely and so blatantly and casually, and folks who want to, strike a payday from the taxpayers of the city of Los Angeles because their rights have been violated because they don't have the constitutional right to just drop the N-word any way they wish. So I just want to just underscore and emphasize Mr. Ridley Thomas's words, and want to take what you said and to meet with the city attorney sooner rather than later. With that, I thank you, Madam President, and I thank you also too for your incredible patience that you have and the elegance and dignity that you exude by hearing this for the past, 7-8 years that you have been in the City Council. Those are just the comments I wanted to make.
Thank you, Mr. De Leon. Mr. O'Farrell, and then I really need to get back to public comment.
Yes, real quickly, Madam President, I echo Mr. De Leon and Mr. Ridley Thomas's comments and our collective lament for the past 7+ years. And I just want to state again, like I have for the last 7.5 years, over and over again, for the city attorney listening to this, it is a violation of the law that in the private workplace, a hostile work environment is tolerated. So I speak on behalf of the tens of thousands of city employees who are subjected to this hostility and this harassment, quite frankly, and how that factors into this conversation. And I would once again like the city attorney to weigh in and opine on how that affects city workers who are subjected to this along with us. We're elected, we have thick skin, we endure a lot, and we signed up for it, and that's one thing. But I'm concerned with the city workforce in terms of being subjected to a hostile work environment. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, and I'm going to return back to our public comment. Next speaker.
Caller with the phone number ending in 9204, please press *6. Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Yeah, my name's Adam Smith. I'd like to speak on general public comment.
You have 1 minute. Go ahead.
Thanks. Today at City Hall, it is a brand new day. Yes, on the corner of Spring and Main. Today's a brand new day. No, we don't know what tomorrow's gonna bring. But I woke up this morning and thought that I should sing. I don't always have the best thing to say, but December 15th seems like a special day. It's a special day, and we should celebrate. It's a special day, and I know that you all feel that it's a special day, and we should celebrate because it's Raquan's birthday. Happy birthday, Raquan. What up, Mike Bonin?
Okay, next speaker.
Call in user 1, please press *6. Call in user 1, please press *6. Call in user 1, please press *6. Caller with the phone number ending in 1108, please press star 6. Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Daniel Gus, all items in general public comment.
Okay, you have 3 minutes for all your items and 1 minute for general public comment. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Council members, I'm going to start my stopwatch here for 4 minutes. Council members, a quick note on that oath. The oath that you took this morning, as I'm going to get into these items, as much as you're interested in limiting free speech in a public forum in the town square, you also took an oath to uncover corruption, including among your peers and other staffers. And if you stay silent on the corruption, you are part of the corruption and in violation of your oath. So I wanted to point that out. Getting into item number 24 about the COVID vaccine, I want to draw your attention to my brand new column about city employees, emergency employees by the city. In City Watch LA, my column is titled, Garcetti's Emergency Personnel Defy COVID Mandate. Council members, in my new column today on citywatchla.com, I write about a baby shower that dozens of employees at the Emergency Operations Center were planning for tomorrow in violation of your COVID mandate. So item number 4, where you're trying to make sure that there's equity among us, your emergency personnel, we're going to have dozens of city employees at the most important building property in the city, and they were going to have dozens of people there during a pandemic. So while you're trying to mandate who gets the vaccine and who doesn't, you should look at your emergency operations center when you're talking about item number 24, my new column, Garcetti's emergency personnel defy COVID mandates. Let's see some immediate action and who's held accountable for that. Item number 26. Good, Nuri's going to be surprised. It's good that you're taking on this item, but maybe you would be responsive to the homeless people who I've sent to your office, Ms. Martinez. This is a good item, but why are you ignoring the homeless people I have sent to your office? It smacks of retaliation. Item number 32, you're actually spending money during a time of austerity. You're spending money to promote walkability. And item number 32. Item 33 and 34, good job, Mr. DeLeon. Debris removal, good. The food program, item 34, good. I'd like to see that, Mr. DeLeon. Keep it simple, set that example. I like what I'm seeing from you so far. Item number 36, you're going to coordinate watering the trees in the Office of Community Beautification. That's for when you guys have money. You're spending money. How did the Office of Community Beautification escape the axe of budget cuts? Number 38, look how much money is spent on salaries. Item number 40, responsible development. My God, Curran Price is involved in a program regarding responsible development. He's going to be indicted. And we're going to find out how much his wife, who never identifies her relationship with him when she's trying to get people to leave housing, she never says, my name is Delbert Richardson.
You can go on to general
Price.
if you want, Mr. Gus.
It's always Del Richardson. Okay, I'm going to go on to general comment. Council members, Mr. Koretz is running for city controller, but he continues to ignore problems like in Ms. Martinez's district, we found a shivering, intact pit bull puppy at an automotive business in Ms. Martinez's district. Their offices have not been responsive to this. So all of the talk about doing things for people and animals and better community, Mr. Koretz, if you're going to run for city controller, I'm going to hold you accountable for these things because we have a long way between now and 2022. And we're going to start holding people accountable if they want citywide office. Congratulations to Ms. Rahman. You did something nobody has done. You knocked off an incumbent in his first term. Don't become part of the herd. You stay independent, Ms. Rahman. Have a good meeting.
Next speaker.
Caller with the phone number ending in 3100, please press star 6. Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Thank you. My name is Maybe a Girl. Pronouns are she, her, and I serve as treasurer for the Silver Lake Neighborhood Council, but today I'm speaking as an individual, and I'd like to comment on item 25 in general public comment.
Sure, you have a minute for each. Please begin.
Thank you. I'd like to first congratulate newly seated Councilmember Nithya Raman, who represents parts of Silver Lake. I'm very much looking forward to seeing your progressive policies in action. My public comment is that the City Council should absolutely resolve that a local emergency continues to persist within the city, but also that the Council should resolve to take greater action for COVID relief. The Emergency Rental Assistance Subsidy Lottery and the lottery for $800 one-time stipends for only 4,000 restaurant workers is not even close to substantial. Parking restrictions also need to be lifted. I understand the city is experiencing a budget shortfall, but Angelenos are struggling as it is and do not need the added burden of paying parking fines. And we all know a particular department that could stand to lose funding. If you guessed LAPD, you are correct. Furthermore, we need you to enact a real moratorium on evictions so as to not exacerbate the existing crisis of people experiencing homelessness in Los Angeles. A real moratorium, not conditional upon providing proof. The proof is in the pudding. I yield my time.
Thank you, Speaker.
Next speaker.
Caller with a phone number ending in 7434, please press *6. Please state your name and the item you'd like to speak on.
Oh, thank you.
Caller, please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Oh, sorry, I was on. My name is Stevie. I live in Mitchell Failures District. I'd like to speak on 25, 26, and general public comment.
Okay, you have 2 minutes for your items and 1 minute for general public comment. Go ahead.
Okay, echoing what maybe a girl who I was happy to vote for recently just stated, and other callers as well. I'd like to congratulate Nithya. I'm so excited to have you as a member of City Council. I'm so disappointed that I moved 3 blocks north and somehow out of CD4 and into 13. Mitch would love to let you know that I was hung up on by your office 3 times yesterday after going out to defend our unhoused neighbors from a sweep. So with respect to 25, it's already been said that yes, we need to extend this declaration of local emergency as far out as we possibly can. What's happening right now is the case numbers are higher than they were when this all began, exponentially higher, but people are exhausted. And to the points that have been made by many, many callers, we've been given no relief. $1,200 one time for some folks, so not to include people who are undocumented, mixed status families, is not sufficient for 9 months of a pandemic, and so we absolutely need to extend the emergency period as long as seemingly possible. With respect to item number 26, if I'm understanding it correctly, I would agree that we do not need any private detention centers, community detention facilities, or any places for unaccompanied minors to be detained, especially in the middle of a global pandemic, when Los Angeles is already home to the largest jail population in the world. So as a member of the Los Angeles Tenants Union, Hollywood Local, I am calling also to ask, as many other callers have, that you provide actual, meaningful, substantive relief to renters, and that means canceling rent. Nithya has already done that job for you by laying out exactly how we can do it. But I myself had to self-evict, which is not something that we recommend. I lost all my rights when I did that, but I was harassed by my landlord. I was threatened with a lawsuit. I was threatened with arrest on my own property that I rented while defending other neighbors from eviction. And my stories are happening every single day. In the tenants union, we are seeing illegal lockouts and evictions and landlord intimidation happening every single day. And guess who it's primarily happening to? Black and Indigenous folks, people of color. We all know what happened in El Sereno over Thanksgiving. And also the fact that we had to have a Black staff member interrupt to remind us that we shouldn't have to be subjected to hearing the N-word 14 times or 15 times, however many times that caller, like this is beyond. It's mind-blowing that we're even seen as a progressive city when we have to have debates about whether it's appropriate to put the burden onto a Black person to explain to the rest of us why it's inappropriate to allow a caller to continue to say the N-word over and over again. So Los Angeles' policy of not canceling rent is racist, allowing people not to say racially charged or other words like that. It is a racist term to say the N-word So it matches everything else that we have to have 14 meetings at another date to figure out whether it's okay to say the N-word in the middle of a city council meeting, just the same as we are 9 months into this and have no substantive relief whatsoever. Cancel the rent, cancel.
Next speaker.
Caller with a phone number ending in 8341, please press star 6. Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak
comment, please.
Sure, you have a minute. Please go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Harrison Feynman, and I'm a lifelong Angelino. I've observed these meetings from time to time, and I'm both amazed and disappointed by the amount of vulgarity and disrespect that some speakers show during public comment. With the new president coming into the White House, I'm holding out hope for a return to polite civil discourse. Nobody says we all have to agree, but a lot more can be accomplished by listening and hearing rather than tearing each other down. It's been a year since Council President Martinez took the helm, and I want to applaud her for leading the city through what has turned out to be a sad, challenging, and unpredictable year. Let's all work to make 2021 better. Thank you. I yield the rest of my time.
Next speaker.
Caller with a phone number ending in 5753, please press star 6. Caller with a phone number ending in 5753, please press star 6. Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Hello, my name is Ruby Rivera. I'm the Director of Community Organizing with Inner City Struggle, and I'm going to be providing public comment.
You have a minute. Please go ahead.
I'm calling to bring up an issue that other folks have already spoken about, so I'll keep it brief. But I just want to remind you all that existing eviction protections are essential to allowing people to shelter safely in place, but they do not sufficiently address the massive amounts of rent debt that tenants have been accruing during the pandemic. And rental assistance programs have only reached a fraction of the tenants who need support. At some point, that bill will be due for this unpaid debt, and low-income tenants who are already severely rent burdened and still without steady income will not be able to pay it back. More than half of all people in Los Angeles experienced the COVID-related loss of household income, and food insecurity is at an all-time high. This crisis is not affecting everyone equally. Those at the lowest income levels, tenants and people of color, are bearing the brunt on all fronts. Low-income communities of color have disproportionately experienced job losses and are more likely to be behind on rent. The city needs to set up a mortgage and small landlord relief program now, allocate local funds, and be vocal in calling for federal funding to be allocated for this purpose. The federal government is not going to do this without pressure, and the city should be our biggest advocate.
Caller with a phone number ending in 6046, please press star 6. Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Sarah Hernandez, general public comment.
You have a minute. Please go ahead.
I wanted to take some time today to call out the tremendous job that Council President Martinez has done presiding over what is arguably one of the most difficult and tumultuous times in the history of the city. As a Latina, I'm extremely proud of her role as the first Latina council president. She is a role model for little girls across the city. And I think it's incumbent on everyone, not just the racist, machista, chauvinists that show their true colors in this public comment time and time again, but even those who profess to be our progressive allies, to reflect on what women in leadership must endure every day. And unfortunately, these council meetings put it on full display. It's not just the outright insults, it's every microaggression that our council president is endured by countless women who only know too well what it was like to be in her shoes. So I hope we take a moment to reflect on that today before people make their comments. Thank you.
Okay, next speaker.
Caller with a phone number ending in 0117, please press star 6. Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Hi, my name is Jessica, and I want to provide public comment.
You have a minute. Please begin.
Well, good morning, everybody. So like I said, my name is Jessica. I work with Kids SoCal Public Schools. I am also a member of Latinas Lead California. Today, I just wanted to congratulate Council President Martinez As somebody who works with students of color, I want to thank Council President Martinez for pushing for a $103 million rent relief program that helped tenants, and it was the largest in the nation. And this was such a great help to our families and students that I work with on a day-to-day basis. I look forward to seeing a strong Latina continue to lead with compassion and with all Angelenos in mind. And just thank you for being a role model to so many of us. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes public comments, members. Let's go ahead and prepare to vote on the following items. Madam Clerk, let's go ahead and vote on items 1 through 5. Item 7, item 23, item 25, 27, and 29 through 41. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Blumenfield.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to make comments on item 23. Can we take that out?
Hold on for just a second. Okay, there's been a request to go ahead and remove item 23.
Thank you,
comments
Madam.
from Mr. Blumenfield. Can we please prepare to vote on the rest of the items?
Yes.
Okay, I'll call you later.
Okay.
I'll call you after.
Okay, bye-bye.
Councilmember Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Bonin.
Bonin, aye.
Buscaino.
Aye.
Cedillo.
Cedillo, aye.
De Leon.
Aye.
Harris Dawson. Koretz.
Aye.
Krikorian.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Martinez.
Aye.
O'Farrell.
Aye.
Price.
Aye.
Rahman.
Aye.
Ridley Thomas.
Aye.
Rodriguez.
Aye.
14 ayes, these items are adopted.
Let's move on to item number 6. This was called, I'm sorry. We're going to go ahead and vote on item number 6 as amended by Mr. O'Farrell. Please call the roll.
Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Bonin.
Bonin, aye.
Buscaino.
Aye.
Cedillo.
Cedillo, aye.
De Leon.
Aye.
Harris Dawson. Absent. Koretz.
Aye.
Krikorian.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Martinez.
Aye.
O'Farrell.
Aye.
Price.
Aye.
Rahman.
Aye.
Ridley Thomas.
Aye.
Rodriguez.
Aye.
14 ayes, this item is adopted as amended.
Okay, let's move on to item number 20. This was called special by Mr. O'Farrell for comments.
Thank you, Madam President. This is an item that has a very short window. Colleagues, this motion I introduced, which authorizes the city administrative officer to apply for the second round of California's Homeless Housing Assistance and Prevention Program, known as HAP, HHAP, which was approved by the state and signed by the governor in 2019, state funding. There was no state allocation as of 2020 because the pandemic hit right as we were about to receive approvals across the state for the most ambitious and the most robust level of funding that the city or the state has ever seen, but COVID set us back, which makes this allocation of HAP funding even more critical at this time. We approved it in homelessness and poverty last week, so we're now eligible to receive up to $55 million in HAP Round 2 funding as our city so desperately and obviously needs. This application period ends at the end of January, meaning next month, so it's essential that we approve this item today in council. Both the CAO's office and the CLA's office are working diligently to gather the required information in order to secure the funding, but we'll need them to report back to this council at the very next meeting we have in January with the recommendations for funding categories based on the input of various stakeholders. This funding is critical to the success of our interventions that moved unhoused, or that will move unhoused individuals and families into permanent supportive housing, and to maintain the supportive housing that we currently have during this time of emergency. And lastly, colleagues, let me just say that these efforts are in combination with the HHH project, which we are 98% authorized for, which will result in over 9,500 units already approved under construction, people moving in them now, and over the next 5 to 6 years, we will see that program completely finished, housing up to about 14,000 people who are currently without homes. But that's a longer term effort, clearly, but we're starting to see progress on that, which will be more visible in a few short years. Also in combination with our Project Room Key, which this council last week approved to extend the allocation for Room Key into late March so that we can get our home key house in order, so to speak, as we acquire and take site control of the various properties, 15 of them in all, for permanent homes of properties that we've acquired. Also, in addition to the Bridge Home Shelters, we now have over 20 of those, either open or in the works for more. The cabin communities, which were reported on a few days ago, and they left out some critical information on that reporting, but more on that later. And then various unaffiliated efforts that we've been making through the years that have no connection to HHH or any of the other efforts. What I'm conveying, colleagues, and for everyone who's listening, is this council has had a very robust, comprehensive approach to getting people indoors and putting people on a path to health and wellness. And that effort will continue for the rest of this month and well into next year as we continue lobbying the state and the feds on the types of resources that we need to house some 41,000 plus people experiencing homelessness just in the city of Los Angeles alone. So colleagues, I ask for an aye vote so the CAO and CLA can get busy and report back, and we can adopt their plan next month, and they can submit the application before the deadline. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. O'Farrell. Let's prepare to vote on this item number 20. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Bonin.
Bonin, aye.
Buscaino.
Aye.
Cedillo.
Cedillo, aye.
De Leon.
Aye.
Harris Dawson. Absent. Koretz.
Aye.
Krikorian.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Martinez.
Aye.
O'Farrell.
Aye.
Price.
Aye.
Brahman.
Aye.
Ridley Thomas.
Aye.
Rodriguez.
Aye.
14 ayes, this item is adopted.
Okay, let's move on to item 23. This was called special by Mr. Blumenfield for comments.
Great, thank you. I wanted to take just a quick moment to say a few words on this item, as it really represents an important environmental victory, and it was a long and winding road to get to this point. There were a lot of unsung heroes along the way. I want to single out Adrian Corsani and Terry Kaufman-Macias for getting this ordinance to council before the end of the year. I want to thank you, Council President Martinez, for getting it on the agenda for us. I know it took a lot to move it. And especially I want to thank Mr. O'Farrell for introducing this motion so long ago and doggedly pursuing it. Your staff did a tremendous job moving it, and I know it was a pleasure for my team on the committee to work it through. I want to thank the department staff for supporting it. I know it wasn't easy to get folks to agree. Our friends in the environmental and tree advocacy communities have spoken very clearly, and we heard them. I want to also thank Shelley Billick and the Community Forest Advisory Committee for their thoughtful deliberations on moving this policy forward. So today, colleagues, we have two absolutely wonderful and native species we're adding to the protected tree ordinance in the Toyon and the Mexican elderberry. It's a big deal, and I'm a huge advocate, as all of you know, for greening the city and greening the valley, protecting our urban tree canopy, but while moving responsibly to develop as efficiently as possible. And we were able to walk that road on adding these new 2 species. Tremendous respect for our Streets LA leaders, and that includes our Urban Forestry Division as well as our Chief Forest Officer. They were pivotal in getting this approved, even though they had some real concerns about cost and how it gets implemented. And I've also got to mention and respect our Citizens Forest Advisory Committee, volunteers committed to the cause. They really pushed the envelope on this issue, and we made changes in committee to reflect that. So today we'll do our best that we can for our tree canopy through this ordinance. And for folks, didn't solve everything, but the wildlife pilot study and the other pending motions on the protected tree ordinance overhaul are coming next. There we'll consider additional reforms to the protected tree ordinance, such as assisting developers at the beginning of the permitting process phase rather than near the end. So developers should be able to be advised at the outset of their projects what the city expects as far as trees go, and the removal of protected native species are avoided by doing that up front. That's in that next phase. And they should be informed early of what's necessary, and making sure that the current board mandated 4-to-1 ratio is observed. And this education of developers up front could serve to make the removal and replacement of trees less common, generally help reduce and avoid the expressed need for off-site and out-of-kind replacements. All of that is coming up through committee, but today we add 2 wonderful species into the protected tree ordinance in the Toyon and the Mexican elderberry. I ask for your aye vote, and thank you to everyone who moved this forward, and it took a lot of years. So congratulations to everyone, Mr. O'Farrell, and I ask for your aye vote.
Mr. Koretz?
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to add my voice in thanks to Mr. O'Farrell and to Mr. Blumenfield and CFAC for this action today. The Toyon and Mexican elderberry provide food and habitat for local wildlife and help us to protect their entire ecosystem. And the Toyon is even the city's official city native plant since 2012. And it would be embarrassing not to protect it. I'm very proud that we're taking this step today and ask for your aye vote.
Mr. O'Farrell?
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, gentlemen, for mentioning the hard work of my team. I have personal experience with the Toyon and the Mexican elderberry in a canyon that I lived in here in Glassell Park many years ago, when an entire stand of Toyon in a very steep hillside area, or relatively steep, was just removed one day, and it was sitting on private property. And I feel to this day that the property owner did not realize what they had and how it was a wildlife habitat. And so we see the importance of this. It's very important to Indigenous Americans, to local Native Americans and tribes. And so I also come to it with that spiritual component. And these are highly valued indigenous species that help our local environment. And lastly, I will say, although the inventory is relatively high, the Toyon and Mexican elderberry only make up less than 1% of our entire shrub and tree inventory. So it's just some context to consider. And I want to thank Mr. Blumenfield and his office for really sifting through all of the intricacies of this complex issue and landing on something that we feel is very solid. So great work all around to you and your team, and of course, the city departments and all of the volunteers in our environmental community who spoke at committee, I believe it was last week, that gave their input and their knowledge, quite frankly, to help inform this conversation over the last several years. So I echo your comments, Mr. Koretz and Mr. Blumenfield. Kudos to all. Thank you.
Mr. De Leon?
Thank you very much, Madam President. I just want to add my comments to Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell. Kudos to him. Kudos to everybody involved, all the stakeholders. But I want to give a very, very special recognition to the chair of the Commission of Public Works, that being Bob Blumenfeld. I learned a lot about the Mexican and the elderberry as well as Toyon. I have to admit, my knowledge base was not as deep and as rich on these particular trees, but Blumenfield did a spectacular job navigating the interests of everyone involved, and I just want to give a special shout out of recognition to him. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and prepare to vote on this item. Madam Clerk, please call the roll on item 23.
Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Bonin.
Bonin, aye.
Buscaino.
Aye.
Cedillo.
Cedillo, aye.
De Leon.
Aye.
Harris Dawson. Absent. Koretz.
Aye.
Krikorian.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Martinez.
Aye.
O'Farrell.
Aye.
Price.
Aye.
Rahman.
Aye.
Ridley Thomas.
Aye.
Thank you. Rodriguez.
Aye.
14 ayes, this item is adopted.
Okay, let's move on to item 24, called special by Mr. De Leon for comments.
Thank you very much, Madam President, as well as colleagues. I'm going to be supportive of file item number 24, unquestionably, when it comes to the issue of vaccinations and who we should be vaccinating first. Obviously, our children have had, the COVID-19 has had a huge impact on the psychology of our children, particularly children of very low income who've had little access to the internet, the Wi-Fi gap that currently exists, and we know that not everyone has had access to technology. But I want to highlight something about their parents too, because I want to put this in context as we roll out vaccinations at a national level and at a state level. As of today, to share some raw numbers for LA County, of those individuals who actually have been infected by the coronavirus, 207,000 Latinos have been infected by COVID-19. 47,000 whites, 17,000 Asian Americans, and 15,000 African Americans. Of those who have succumbed to COVID-19, complications of COVID-19, specifically to date, it's been a little more than 5,000 Latinos. The next number up is 1,800 whites and 1,100 Asian Americans and a little over 700 African Americans. Obviously, when we take raw numbers and we take percentages of current populations too, we see clearly that the coronavirus has devastated communities of color. In the nascent stage of the coronavirus, when folks were talking about Wuhan, China, and parts of Italy and the large infection rates globally in two opposite ends of the planet, it was the narrative in Los Angeles was that those who have the financial wherewithal, those who have money and can travel globally, whether it was for pleasure, tourism, or whether it was for business, the Pacific Rim, those were the folks in the early stages that were being infected. But it was only a matter of time that this virus would migrate and devastate those communities where you have multi-generations under one roof, those communities where you have incredible density, those communities where you have deep entrenched poverty, those communities where you have freeways surrounding those neighborhoods where the children breathe into their lungs every single day, NOx, SOx, particulate matter, 2.5, all that dirty ozone that has been part of the narrative of who we are as a city and region in Los Angeles. And those neighborhoods where they don't have an HMO or PPO, they don't have access to Kaiser, Blue Shield, Blue Cross, Health Net, or whatever type of healthcare provider. Their emergency room most likely is the ER room, whether it's at MLK or whether it's at LA County USC, or whether it's a community clinic in the neighborhood. So we see the hot spots clearly because it's empirical, not political, that nursing homes and assisted living were devastated. And the next hotspot cluster were communities of color, Latinos, immigrants, Blacks, and Asian Americans. Yet at a countywide level, and especially at a citywide level, we don't see the same approach. whether it had to do with antibody testing, PCR diagnostic examination for COVID-19, or whether it was relief money that was an afterthought, not with strategic thinking, but clearly these individuals are also are essential workers, because guess what? If you're a pescatarian or vegan or vegetarian or carnivore, you don't eat without these individuals, because they're the ones who put the food on the table. They're the ones who take care of the children of the rich and famous, other parts of the city. They're the ones who make this city work. That's why whatever approach that the county, state, and federal level moves forward on, I want to see vaccinations also too. That also is inclusive and that's equitable with the individuals who have suffered the most. With that, thank you, Madam President. We surely will be supporting your motion, and I thank you once again for your leadership.
Thank you, Mr. De Leon. Mr. Ridley Thomas?
Madam President, thank you for the opportunity to be heard. The pandemic has been particularly challenging for our most disadvantaged children who have experienced the greatest difficulty, distance learning. And I want to assert that these inequities puts us in danger of having a generation left behind. These are the insights that are being articulated with regularity from experts in the field of education, higher ed, K through 12, etc. So this resolution represents a critical step, Madam President, to putting students and families first. And there's nothing wrong with that ever. Teachers and school staff must be treated as critical, essential workers. I'm grateful for the opportunity to stand with you, the entire City Council, in supporting this resolution. Fundamentally important, and we simply have to lean in. Madam President.
Thank you, sir. Let's go ahead and prepare to vote on this item. Item 24, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Blumenfield. Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Bonin.
Bonin, aye.
Buscaino.
Aye.
Cedillo.
Cedillo, aye.
De Leon.
Aye.
Harris Dawson. Absent. Koretz.
Aye.
Krikorian.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Martinez.
Aye.
O'Farrell.
Aye.
Price. Price.
Aye.
Thank you. Rahman.
Aye.
Ridley Thomas.
Aye.
Rodriguez.
Aye.
14 ayes, this item is adopted.
Okay, Madam Clerk, let's go ahead and vote on item 26 as amended. Please call the roll.
Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Bonin.
Bonin, aye.
Buscaino.
Aye.
Cedillo.
Cedillo, aye.
De Leon.
Aye.
Harris Dawson. Absent. Koretz.
Aye.
Krikorian.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Martinez.
Aye.
O'Farrell.
Aye.
Price.
Aye.
Rahman.
Aye.
Ridley Thomas.
Aye.
Rodriguez.
Aye.
14 ayes, this item is adopted as amended.
Okay, let's move on to special motion of Rule 23 that was introduced by Mr. Bonin. Anything else you'd like to add, Mr. Bonin, before we take a vote?
No, Madam President, thank you.
So we've already voted on the findings, Mr. City Attorney?
We have, so we can vote on the substance of the motion now.
Let's go ahead and vote on the substance of the motion. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Bonin.
Bonin, aye.
Buscaino.
Aye.
Cedillo.
Aye.
De Leon.
Aye.
Harris Dawson. Absent. Koretz.
Aye.
Krikorian.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Martinez.
Aye.
O'Farrell.
Aye.
Price.
Aye.
Rahman.
Aye.
Ridley Thomas.
Aye.
Rodriguez.
Aye.
14 ayes, this item is adopted.
Okay, Madam Clerk, what's next on our agenda?
Madam President, the clerk has 16 verbal motions to read into the record.
Sorry, repeat that one more time. Did you say 16?
Yes, Madam President.
Please start with the first one.
The first is a Rule 16 motion. This has been introduced by Councilmember Koretz, seconded by Councilmember Lee. This is to transfer and appropriate $17,500 from the Street Furniture Revenue Fund to the Police Fund for new speed feedback signs.
Mr. Lee, can you confirm you've seconded this motion, please?
Confirm.
Thank you. Next.
The next is a Rule 16 motion introduced by Councilmember Koretz, seconded by Councilmember Lee. This is to move that $100,000 be transferred appropriated from the Street Furniture Revenue Fund to the Street Services Fund for the Melrose Avenue Pedestrian Improvement Project.
Confirm.
The next.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lee. Next.
Thank you. The next verbal motion to be referred to the Planning and Land Use Management Committee, introduced by Councilmember Koretz, seconded by Councilmember Blumenfield, to instruct the Department of Cannabis Regulation to report on the potential implications of the recommendations proposed in the California Cannabis Advisory Committee's 2020 annual report. Councilmember Blumenfield was the seconder.
Mr. Blumenfield, can you confirm?
Yes, I confirm. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
The next is a motion to be referred to the Planning and Land Use Management Committee, presented by Councilmember Koretz, seconded by Councilmember Harris Dawson, instructs the Planning Department to prepare an ordinance to update the Adaptive Reuse Ordinance.
Mr. Harris Dawson's not in our meeting.
I'll be
Anyone
happy
else?
to make the motion on his behalf.
All right, thank you. So that's been confirmed by Mr. Bonin because Mr. Harris Dawson's not here.
Thank you,
Okay,
Madam
next
President.
one.
The next is a resolution to be referred to the Rules, Elections, and Intergovernmental Relations Committee, introduced by Councilmember Koretz, seconded by Councilmember Krikorian, to include in the 2021-22 state legislative program opposition to SB 10. To be seconded by Councilmember Krikorian.
Yes, I confirm the second.
Thank you. Next.
The next is a resolution to be referred to the Rules, Elections, and Intergovernmental Relations Committee for the 21-22 state legislative program, opposition to SB 9. This has been introduced by Koretz and seconded by Councilmember Krikorian.
Confirmed.
Thank you. Next.
Is a resolution to be referred to the Rules Committee, introduced by Councilmember Koretz, seconded by Councilmember Blumenfield, to include in the state legislative program opposition to administrative action by the LA District Attorney to cease seeking sentencing enhancements in criminal cases unless amended. And the seconder is Councilmember Blumenfield.
Yeah, that's about hate crimes. Blumenfield,
Yeah.
second.
Mr. Blumenfield to confirm. Next.
The next is a motion to be referred to the Homelessness and Poverty Committee, introduced by Councilmember Koretz, seconded by Councilmember Bonin. This instructs CAO, Bureau of Engineering and Building and Safety, to review the Pallet Shelter Tiny Home Village program. Seconded by Councilmember Bonin.
Mr. Bonin, can you confirm?
So confirmed.
Thank you. Next.
The next motion, resolution was introduced by Councilmember Rodriguez and seconded by Council President Martinez. It is to prohibit the parking of vehicles that are in excess of 22 feet in length or over 7 feet in height during the hours of 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. along both sides of street segments Olive View Drive, Bledsoe Street, Astoria Street, Truman Street, and McClay Street.
I confirm. I second on that motion. Next.
Thank you. The next motion is to be referred to the Homelessness and Poverty Committee. It is to instruct the CAO with assistance of the CLA, the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, and other city departments as necessary, and in consultation with the council office, to identify suitable sites and funding options within 45 days for a navigation center to deliver homeless services to be located in Council District 4. It was introduced by Councilmember Rahman and is seconded by Councilmember Krikorian.
Mr. Krikorian, can you confirm that?
I do so confirm.
Thank you. Next.
The next resolution is to prohibit the parking of vehicles that are in excess of 22 feet in length or over 84 inches in height during the hours of 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. among the following street segments: both sides of Cessnan Boulevard, both sides of Rinaldi Place, north side of Rinaldi Place. This was introduced by Councilmember Lee and is to be seconded by Councilmember Buscaino.
Mr. Buscaino, can you confirm?
Confirm. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
The next motion is to be referred to the Budget and Finance Committee regarding the donation of 100 XTS 5000 Motorola radios to the California Emergency Mobile Patrol. It was introduced by Councilmember John Lee, is to be seconded by Councilmember Buscaino.
Confirmed on the second, Madam President.
Thank you. Next.
The next motion is to be referred to the Budget and Finance Committee and the Housing Committee. It is to instruct the Housing and Community Investment Department and the Chief Legislative Analyst to report with recommendations on the creation of and resources needed to effectuate a revolving loan fund empowered to receive contributions from institutional investors, philanthropic organizations, and private companies that will support increasing the stock of workforce housing in the city. It has been introduced by Councilmember Krikorian and Councilmember Ridley Thomas, and is to be seconded by Councilmember Rahman.
Mr. Ridley Thomas, can you confirm you are a co-author on this motion?
Confirmed, Madam President.
Ms. Rahman, can you confirm you're a second on this motion?
Confirm. Thank you.
Next.
The next motion is to be referred to the Homelessness and Poverty Committee and the Housing Committee. It is to direct the City Administrative Officer with the assistance of the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority and the Chief Legislative Analyst to give a verbal status report to the Homelessness and Poverty Committee on recommended local initiatives that align with the Governor's Council of Regional Homeless Advisors Comprehensive Crisis Response Strategy, as directed by the Council on February 19, 2020, Council File 20-0102, and related matters. This motion was introduced by Councilmember Ridley Thomas, co-presented by Councilmember O'Farrell, and is to be seconded by Councilmember Martinez and Councilmember Blumenfield.
Okay, Mr. O'Farrell, can you confirm?
Confirmed. Thank you.
I confirm as well. And then Mr. Blumenfield?
And I confirm as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
The next resolution was to be referred to the Rules and Elections Committee. It is to provide support for Assembly Bill 71 in the city's 2021-2022 state legislative program, which proposes a $2.4 billion annual allocation from the state to address homelessness and housing efforts across California. It has been presented by Councilmember Ridley Thomas and Councilmember O'Farrell, and it's to be seconded by Councilmember Martinez.
Mr. O'Farrell, can you confirm?
Confirmed. Thank you.
As do I. Any others, Madam Clerk?
Yes, the final motion to be referred to the Budget and Finance Committee and the Personnel and Animal Welfare Committee directs the CAO in consultation with LACERS and the LA Fire and Police Pensions Personnel Department and the city's labor partners to report to the Executive Employee Relations Committee and appropriate council committees with viable options and recommendations to reduce city healthcare costs for current employees and retirees, consistent with existing legal requirements, city commitments, and considerations of equity. This has been co-presented by Council members Blumenfield and Krikorian. And a seconder is needed.
Second.
Second by Mr. Koretz. Mr. Krikorian, can you confirm as well?
Yes, I do. I so confirm.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, I believe there's a few others that we're waiting for. So let me go ahead and go to the members. Ms. Rodriguez?
Thank you, Madam President. I do have three. The first is, I therefore move that the police department be directed to report in 30 days on the standards for investigating racial profiling complaints and provide comparative data over the last 10 years. The report should include a response to and implementation plans for the recommendations cited in the OIG report dated October 27, 2020.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Blumenfield. Next, Ms. Rodriguez?
Second is, I therefore move that the police department be directed to report in 30 days with a comparative analysis of the current race, ethnicity, and gender demographics of sworn personnel in the department as compared to 10 years ago, and a forecast of where LAPD expects to be in the next 5 years. This analysis should also include information on how this data relates to command staff within the Los Angeles Police Department and what current standards are used to prioritize diversity in promotional positions. I further move that the Civil, Human Rights, and Equity Department be directed to review the LAPD's report and to report on any issues of concern or interest that the department might identify.
Second.
Second by Mr. Krikorian. Next, Ms. Rodriguez?
Thank you. And the final one is, I therefore move that the police department report in 30 days on the community engagement expectations for officers assigned as senior lead officers within the Community Safety Partnership Bureau and the Metropolitan Transportation Agency, contacts, and on metrics for how success is measured in these assignments.
Second.
Second by Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you, Madam President. I have a few myself. Be resolved with the concurrence of the mayor that by the adoption of this resolution, the City of LA hereby includes in its 2021-2022 state legislative program support for any legislation that would guarantee public school students their civil right to a high quality public education. I believe, Madam President, you will second that.
Yes, I will confirm that I'm going to second that.
Thank you. Next is a move that the Department of General Services, with the assistance of the City Attorney and the City Administrative Officer, be instructed to negotiate a nonprofit lease agreement with the Boys and Girls Club of LA Harbor for the city-owned building located at 802 West Gardena Boulevard, Los Angeles, California, 90247.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Rodriguez.
Thank you. And next one will be co-presented with Mr. Koretz and seconded by Mr. Bonin. Be resolved about the concurrence of the mayor that by the adoption of this resolution, the City of Los Angeles hereby includes in its 2021-2022 state legislative program support for any legislation or administrative action that would prioritize distribution of the COVID-19 vaccine for essential waterfront workers.
Mr. Koretz, can I get a confirmation you co-introduced this?
Yes, certainly.
And Mr. Bonin, you've seconded this?
Yes, I'll confirm.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Buscaino, any others?
Last one, on a lighter note, because we shouldn't take ourselves too serious around here in the spirit of the holiday. Whereas any official position of the City of Los Angeles with respect to the legislation, rules, regulations, or policies proposed or pending before local, state, or federal governmental body or agency must have first been adopted in the form of resolution by the City Council with concurrence of the mayor. And whereas the countdown to 2021 has already begun in the hopes that COVID would soon be done, the children were all happily waiting to return to school, which last year was an idea subject to ridicule. But out of the blue, there are still more stay-at-home orders to get through, so we must come together in equal measure to stop the spread before we are all filled with dread. And to that end, the holiday season is upon us, and whereas Christmas spirit is needed now more than ever, after the unprecedented year we all have endured, and whereas in order to ensure the delivery of presents and safe travels, it's necessary to exempt Santa Claus, Miss Claus, Rudolph, Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Donner, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, and Blitzen, and all affiliated workers, including but not limited to elves, Frosty the Snowman, the Nutcracker, and Sugar Plum Fairies, from the city's regular rules and regulations, and whereas elves, elf, and other essential workshop personnel who need to be able to gather in toy-making workshops should be added to the city's list of essential employees. And whereas the Los Angeles Fire Department is ordered to suspend all chimney access requirements and related permits for the year 2020, and whereas the city's top secret North Pole Task Force has been in contact with both Dr. Fauci and LA County Public Health to confirm that Santa Claus and all North Pole inhabitants are not at risk of COVID-19 due to naturally occurring North Pole antibodies. And whereas LAX Air Traffic Control, Office of the Council President and the Mayor should be immediately notified to commence using the city's classified Santa mail delivery system for all emergency Santa-related communications moving forward. And whereas all consultation with the LA County Public Health, cookies and milk can still be left for Santa and carrots for reindeer. And whereas whether this year we're lighting menorahs or kinaras across the city or putting up a Christmas tree, it's our hope that the light of our good cheer can shine bright for all to see. So together we exclaim as we continue the COVID fight, happy holidays to all, and to all a good night. And therefore be it resolved by the concurrence of the mayor, the adoption of this resolution, the city of LA hereby includes in this 2020-2021 state legislative, federal legislative programs, support of legislation that would declare Santa, his reindeer, his elves, and all any affiliated workers be essential workers this holiday season and thereby exempt from regular city rules, regulations. Happy holidays, y'all. Love you.
It's commendatory, right, Mr. Buscaino?
Right.
Okay, Mr. Blumenfield?
Okay, mine is not as colorful of a motion, but it is more of a standard motion that deals with government bonds to acquire market rate buildings for the use of restricted income apartments. It basically says, moving clause, I therefore move that the council instruct the Housing and Community Investment Department, City Administrative Officer, Chief Legislative Analyst, and request the City Attorney report back on the feasibility of the City of Los Angeles becoming an additional member of the California State Association of Counties Community Improvement Authority, or any other entity that would support the issuance of bonds for the production, preservation, and protection of essential middle-income rental housing. And Mr. Price has agreed to second this.
Okay, Mr. Price has confirmed. Any others? Mr. Blumenfield, do you have another?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Rodriguez?
Yes, I neglected a resolution. Now therefore be it resolved that by the adoption of this resolution, the Los Angeles City Council congratulates Angie Roman for her 46 years of dedicated service to the people of the city of Los Angeles and wishes her health and happiness in her retirement and success in her future endeavors.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you.
Let's see if the part.
Okay, Madam Clerk, what is before us now?
Madam President, I have one additional motion to read into the record.
Go ahead.
This is to be referred to the Economic Development Committee. This moves that the Office of the City Attorney be requested to draft an emergency ordinance that will provide all on-site grocery workers at grocery stores with 300 or more employees with an additional $5 per hour in wages for the period of the effective date of this ordinance, during which the City of LA is in a widespread, substantial, or moderate risk level, purple, red, or orange, and until such time as risk levels return to minimal, yellow, under the state health orders.
Second.
For the record, this has been co-presented by Council Members Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, and Koretz, and seconded by Council Members Ridley Thomas and Cedillo.
Can I get confirmations of the co-presenters, please?
Ridley Thomas confirmed.
Confirm.
Koretz confirmed.
Thank you.
Cedillo confirmed.
Thank you.
Price confirms.
Ridley Thomas confirmed, Madam President.
Thank
And
you.
O'Farrell.
Madam Clerk, what's before us now?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Posted and referred. Madam Clerk, we're going to go ahead and proceed with the election of Council President and Council President Pro Tem. I'm going to go ahead and turn over the gavel to our City Clerk, Holly Wilcock, who's here in our council chamber. She will be the presiding officer for the election of Council President, and the newly elected Council President will then go ahead and preside over the election of the Council President Pro Tem. So let's all please welcome back our City Clerk, Holly Wilcock, who's here.
Good afternoon. I'm Holly Walcott, Los Angeles City Clerk. It is my pleasure to be of service to you as your City Clerk. Pursuant to Council Rule 1, the next order of business will be the election of the Council President, which requires a majority vote by open ballot. Public comment has been held on this matter. It has been the tradition of the City Council to conduct the election of the Council President by a voice vote, conducted in alphabetical order. Unless I hear an objection, we are prepared to proceed in that fashion. Hearing none, as the council clerk calls your name, please state the name of the council member you are voting for to be president of the council. Madam Clerk, please proceed with the vote.
Councilmember Blumenfield.
Proudly voting for Nuri Martinez.
Councilmember Bonin.
I cast my vote for Nuri Martinez.
Councilmember Buscaino.
Proudly vote and cast my vote for Nuri Martinez.
Councilmember Cedillo.
Nuri Martinez.
Councilmember De Leon.
Nuri Martinez.
Councilmember Harris Dawson.
One more for Martinez.
Councilmember Koretz.
Happily for Nuri Martinez.
Councilmember Krikorian.
Nuri Martinez.
Councilmember Lee.
Nuri Martinez.
Councilmember Martinez.
Nuri Martinez. Can you hear me?
Say it again.
Nuri Martinez.
Thank you. Councilmember O'Farrell.
Proudly supporting and voting for my sister, Nuri Martinez, and her great leadership of this city council.
Councilmember Price.
Another vote for Nuri Martinez.
Councilmember Rahman.
I'm voting for Nuri Martinez, and especially proud to do it as the third woman on a body where there are very few women indeed.
Councilmember Ridley Thomas.
Nuri Martinez in the house.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
Councilwoman Nuri Martinez.
15-0. That is unanimous.
Congratulations, Nuri Martinez, for being reelected the council president. I will now turn the chair back over to you for the pro tem election.
All right, thank you, everyone. It has been the tradition of the City Council to conduct the election of Council President Pro Tem by a voice vote conducted in alphabetical order. Without objection, we are not prepared to proceed in this fashion. Public comment has been held on this matter, so Madam Clerk, please proceed with the vote.
Councilmember Blumenfield.
I'll go for Joe.
Councilmember Bonin.
From San Pedro, California, Joe Buscaino.
Councilmember Buscaino.
It's the will of this body. I'll be more than happy to serve as the pro tem.
Councilmember
Buscaino.
Thank you. Councilmember Cedillo.
Mi hermano Joe.
Councilmember De Leon.
Buscaino.
Councilmember Harris Dawson.
Man with the best nickname of all the city council members, Mr. Joey Buckets Buscaino.
Councilmember Koretz.
It's a good month for Joe's, so I'll support another one.
Councilmember Krikorian.
Joe Buscaino.
Councilmember Lee.
I'm with Joe Buscaino.
Council President Martinez.
I am proud to support my brother, Joe Buscaino.
Councilmember O'Farrell.
Someone who is on everyone's bucket list, Joe Buscaino.
Councilmember Price.
I gotta go with Joe.
Councilmember Rahman.
Joe Buscaino.
Councilmember Ridley Thomas.
Joseph Buscaino.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
I heart Joey Buckets.
15 ayes, 0 noes. It's unanimous.
Congratulations, Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you, Madam President.
And thank you, members. I'd like to just take a few minutes to say a few words, if I may. Thank you, members, for re-electing me as president of our city council, and I promise not to let you down. And thank you, each of you, for being a part of a council that has proven it can rise to the occasion when faced with the most challenging times. 2020 is coming to an end, and we have gone through so much together. I look back at this past year, and I'm humbled when I think about the challenges we faced and how we've responded. You'll remember back in March, everything had come to a stop. People were out of work, hospitals were overwhelmed, and other governments had frozen. But not us. Colleagues, the last time we met in person was on March 17. But we knew then that we could not shut down. And within 10 days, this council was back at conducting the people's business. While other levels of government failed, we met every single time. The council responded with urgency because Angelinos needed us to. This council had the courage to lead. We immediately took action to protect workers who were being displaced. We protected workers who are risking their lives on the front lines as essential workers, those in grocery stores, drugstores, or food delivery. We took action on evictions to help renters stay in their homes. And I know each and every one of you took immediate action to meet the needs of your district. From meal deliveries and food drives to checking in on seniors and the most vulnerable. In such a difficult time, we all came together to serve. When you first elected me as your city council president in January, We made a commitment that this council will enact a families first agenda, and that's exactly what we did. When the federal government finally came through, we let our actions do all the talking. We provided the largest rent relief package in the United States. We moved over $100 million to help struggling tenants pay their rents and help mom and pop landlords pay for their mortgage. We created alternative learning centers so that kids can have a safe place to learn while their parents went to work. And we supported childcare so working moms wouldn't have to choose between taking care of their babies and their careers. We created a $50 million utility grant to keep people from falling behind on their bills. And we kept our commitment to addressing homelessness. We maintained our focus on the most vulnerable, seized 18 properties, and are securing over 7,000 beds to help people get off the streets. But that's not all we did. Together, we created programs to support local restaurants and help small businesses. Local businesses who are torn between conflicting restrictions and the efforts to provide jobs for our hardest working Angelenos. We were careful to avoid the mistakes of 2008 when we bailed out Wall Street rather than Main Street. Colleagues, we have done so much more, and we've done it with real leadership. I'm reminded of something I heard the other day. COVID is a storm that has swept this country. But while we are all in the same storm, we have to acknowledge that we're not all in the same boat. Some people are blessed with yachts, and some have canoes. But too many don't have anything, and they're simply drowning. And that is something that we cannot and must not forget. We're reminded of those inequalities during the summer months of the protests and demonstrations around policing. But this council chose not to shy away from those conversations. Instead, we took the time to come together, we listened, and we're responding. Because the one thing that is clear to everybody is that public safety is a fundamental concern for every parent, every child, and every neighbor. And how we deliver public service and public safety will be an ongoing conversation for all of us. Because Angelenos need more than slogans. Angelenos need more than a social media post. For all the crap that women put up with, and for all the crap that women before me have gone through, it's going to take a lot more than calling me a bitch to keep me from helping people. So to all the community-based organizations who have done the Lord's work over the years, to those who believe in truly organic movements, let 2021 be the year that we remember who we are as activists. Call out misogyny. Call out when people with entitlement try to be your savior. And call out when your movement and lifetime struggles have taken over by the privilege of those with their own guilt are trying to destroy the system that has benefited them at your expense. A real people's movement is about demanding respect, demanding racial justice, demanding environmental justice, and demanding social justice. And remember that real allies aren't here to fix people's problems for them. They're here to empower them to do it for themselves. True allyship is about respecting, supporting, and standing behind the people who are fighting for themselves, not in front of them. We close out this year with this fiscal crisis upon us. And for all of our efforts to adjust and respond, for all of our sacrifices that we are asking our workers and our residents to do, we must demand that the federal government act now to save lives and provide meaningful relief to our residents. Because budget crises are not about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about the millions of families that are trying to stay alive. For all the policies and resources that we have committed to date, Despite all of our best efforts, Angelenos will literally be left out on the cold if the federal government does not step in to help us. Colleagues, let's be honest with ourselves. We need to do so much more. Every day we are confronted with the painful truth that so many of our fellow Angelenos are hurting. COVID has brought us so much loss. Families have lost their businesses and their jobs, and they have lost all hope. They are starving, waiting for up to 2 hours in modern-day bread lines for food that might last them a week. Their businesses have been closed yet again, and the relief that they need can only come from the federal government that has abandoned them. COVID has brought us desperation, despair, and death. Before the end of this year, we're looking at the real possibility of 10,000 deaths in LA County. Think about that. 10,000 families who will be without a mom, a father, or a sibling, who would go into these holidays with an empty seat at the dinner table. While this holiday season is like any other, we still have things that we have to be grateful for. We will go into this holiday season thinking about those that are struggling and thinking about all the work that we have to continue to do. Colleagues, thank you again for your support and for sticking together through this crisis. And as you know, the inequities in our city are most visible more than ever. But so is our hope and the potential for our city. The months ahead must set the stage for the kind of rebirth that only our city can imagine. I know that together we will accomplish that for our residents. So please be safe, and may everyone's families be healthy. May God bless you, and may God bless our City of Angels. Thank you. Madam Clerk, we're going to go ahead and move into announcements. Members, are there any announcements? And then we'll move into adjourning motions. Any announcements, members? Okay, Mr. Price, do you have an announcement?
Thank you. Madam President, last week I mentioned that this week we'd be celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Central Avenue Jazz Festival. And indeed, last night it was a great kickoff as we highlighted the first Jazz Festival in '96 and also talked about the new Angels Walk program that's going to be coming down Central Avenue. Well, tonight we kick off the second evening of celebration with Barbara Morrison and the Boo Crew. They're going to be performing at 8 o'clock this evening on Channel 35 or at www.centralavjazzfest. We're just so excited and so proud about this week of celebration. Tomorrow, Wednesday, it'll be Robert Glasper and Terrence Martin. And closing out the festival on Thursday, December the 17th at 8 p.m., going to be the Jazz Classics, featuring Patrice Rushen, Ernie Watts, Marvin Smitty Smith, and Reggie Hamilton. So again, just encouraging neighbors, family, and friends to tune in tonight at 8 p.m. for Barbara Morrison, second leg of our 25th anniversary celebration of the Central Avenue Jazz Festival. All are welcome, and it's free. And if you can't tune in, you can certainly go to www.centralavjazzfest.com to enjoy this program. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Let's move on to adjourning motions, members. There's been several requests for adjourning motions. Mr. De Leon?
Thank you very much, Madam President, as well as colleagues. It's with deep sadness that I journey in the memory of Kathleen Stevens, who passed away last month, November 18th. She was born right in the heart of Boyle Heights. She was born at White Memorial Hospital in 1960. And Kathy was a proud product of LA Unified School District. She was from Franklin High School in Highland Park. And in 1977, before becoming the first in her immigrant family to obtain a degree, she graduated from Cal State Los Angeles, Golden Eagles. She was a long time volunteer, a public servant, working as a PTA president of Eagle Rock Elementary School for many, many, many years. She participated in neighborhood efforts like Operation Sparkle and Clean Streets. She also ran a massive toy donation program for huérfanos, orphans, in Tijuana, Baja California, and supported numerous student mentorship programs, namely Operation Kids Hope, again, at Eagle Rock Elementary School. Kathy was a neighborhood watch captain, LAUSD class mom, softball coach at the local LA City Public Park, and was mom to everyone that she met. Now, Kathleen is survived by her husband, Bruce, of 43 years, more than 4 decades, as well as her son, Jacob, who's a wonderful young man, a great friend, her daughter, Amber, plus her husband, Adolfo, and their daughter and granddaughter, Alouette. Kathy was a 42-year resident of CD14 and will be remembered for her dedication to her community. So with that, Madam President, as well as colleagues, again, I adjourn in the memory of Kathy Stevens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. De Leon. Mr. Price for an adjourning motion.
President, members, I ask that we adjourn in the memory of Ever A. Linares. He was one of the millions who contracted COVID-19 during this horrific pandemic. After a week-long battle fighting to stay alive, God called him home on November the 30th, 2020. He leaves behind 7 children: Alex, Leah, Ever, Randy, Heaven, Mila, and Cyrus, as well as his wife, Andrea. Not only dedicated to providing for his family, but he was also committed to putting others first. Despite having to deal with his own health adversities, Ever dove headfirst since the onset of COVID-19, providing PPE and masks to underserved communities among the many other services that he provided. As a man of God, he wanted to help others and those in need. He was extremely involved within his community in so many significant ways that his involvement changed the dynamic of South Central. Mr. Linares was one of the co-founders of Resilient, a nonprofit services organization in South LA. He was committed to making communities safe and resilient by providing community-based violence interpretation services, uniting businesses, students, residents, local government agencies, churches, and community-based organizations that serve our youth and young adults. He encouraged collaborative efforts that emphasize education, training, empowerment, and unity. He was also an instructor for the Urban Peace Institute, using this platform to promote peace and violence interruption strategies in cities affected by gangs, poverty, and violence in the U.S. He instructed and developed community intervention and community outreach workers nationally. Most recently, my office joined with him and Resilient to distribute over 100 turkeys to families in need, and was looking forward to working with him on many other efforts to improve the quality of life for citizens in my district. Ever's presence and his passing will be sorely missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Mr. Buscaino?
Miss.
Yes, Mr. Herzog.
Madam President, I just wanted to make a few comments and be added to that adjourning motion if Mr. Price pleases, and just say a word about Ever.
Yes.
Community intervention workers, particularly at the dawn of COVID in our communities, went out before there was PPP available to them. We remember Ever in particular, we remember being very concerned about all of them, but they were very clear, like, if we're not out on the streets, we're not talking to people, we run the risk of spiraling downward during this crisis period. And he stepped up in a big way and unfortunately contracted COVID during that time. I am especially moved by his loss because we have special designations for people who put their body on the line for us, and we recognize them, and we do that as we should. Community intervention workers, we don't have anything like that for them, but they do that. At 2 o'clock in the morning when there's a shooting, they get out of their bed and they go to the house of the victim, and then they try to find where the dispute started, and they try to get to the bottom of it before morning, before we all get up and go to work, so there isn't back and forth. And Ever was one of the folks who did that and just showed up everywhere and every way that the community needed him. So we wanted to pay him the highest respect that we can and express the gratitude of a grateful city and a hopeful community, and wish that he rest in power going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Harris Dawson. Mr. Buscaino?
Yes, thank you for that, Mr. Price. May his memory be a blessing. Our CIWs are just incredible angels in the city of angels, and they have been our frontline workers, though in the shadows. May he rest in peace. Colleagues, I'd like to adjourn in memory of one of our own, a member of our own city family, and take a moment to reflect and honor his life. Senior Lead Officer Michael Robertson, born April 17th, 1956 in Lake Charles, Louisiana. He was in charge, and you remember seeing him at the mayor's office security detail, working the desk. He was assigned as a senior lead officer in 2005 and started his career with us in 1987 as the city's Department of General Services as a police officer. And on July 1, 2012, the Department of General Services, if you recall, Office of Public Safety transitioned to the LAPD, at which point police officer Michael Robertson became an LA municipal police officer, continued his dedicated service to the LA Mayor's Office Security Detail. Senior Lead Officer Michael Robertson continued working for the Mayor's Office Security Detail until his retirement on October 20th, 2020, after 34 years of distinguished service to the city of Los Angeles. Passed away on December 11th. He is survived by his loving wife and 4 children. He will be dearly missed by all who worked with him at City Hall and really all that who knew him. I'll never forget him. Such a great man, a good soul, embodied our community policing philosophies, and was just a good man. He will truly be missed. May he rest in peace. And second, and my final one, Madam President and members, is I'd like to adjourn in memory of Theo Carlos Prinzin. I believe IT has a photo of him we'd like to display. We adjourn, I'd like to ask that we adjourn in council in memory of Theo Carlos, passed away on December 9th. Theo Carlos Prinzin was born in Los Angeles on October 15th, 1934. He grew up challenging circumstances, but always remained optimistic about his life, even in the most painful moments. He was a proud union brother of Teamsters Local 692 in Long Beach and helped negotiate union contracts with trucking companies in the ports of LA and Long Beach. Theo Carlos was always there to support you when the community of Wilmington needed him, and always supported students, teachers, and administrators. He was an outspoken man who always gave sound advice, and for decades, Theo Carlos volunteered at the Banning High School Parent Center, where he mentored many generations of students. A number of students mailed him letters over the years describing the impact that he had on their lives, and some even mentioned how his mentorship saved their lives. Theo Carlos was a spiritual man with a deep love for his Native American heritage. He believed that he was placed in this world for a purpose and dedicated his life to bettering the lives of others. He was a selfless man. Theo Carlos Prinzin passed away peacefully in his sleep. He spent the final days of his life serving others and making sure they had everything they needed to survive this pandemic. He will forever be remembered and his legacy will live on the hallways of Banning High School campus, the Wilmington community, and the Harbor area. My wife, Jay, and I had an opportunity to speak to his wife yesterday. The outpouring of love, she was very embraced, and she was appreciative of the community coming and remembering and honoring his life. May he rest in peace. Thank you, Madam President and colleagues.
Thank you, Mr. Buscaino. Mr. Blumenfield?
Okay, thank you. I've got two adjourning in memory, two motions to adjourn in memory. The first one is I ask that we adjourn in the memory of Adam Golem. He is also a member of the city family. He joined the city family in January 2011. He was a field engineer aide for Streets LA. His work ethic made him a vital member of the department. In fact, he made an educational video that some of you may have seen about his position at Streets LA. He said that his position required a, quote, willingness to learn, the ability to coordinate with others, and the integrity to be a good steward. Unfortunately, we will no longer have the benefit of his good stewardship here in the City of Angels. He left this world at the young age of 43 while he was on vacation in Maui with his family. He spent his last days on Earth swimming, floating, snorkeling, looking for sea turtles, but tragically died when a heart arrhythmia issue struck him at the worst possible time when he was in the ocean, unable to receive assistance. According to his wife, Christina, Adam was a humble man of integrity, and he was always looking out for her and everyone else around him. Adam was described as a sincere friend, a loving son, a thoughtful brother, a creative designer, a funny guy with a great sense of humor, and a dedicated spouse. He is survived by his wife, Christina, his parents, Paula and Greg. In lieu of flowers, they ask that if you want to honor Adam's memory, do so by adopting a pet or supporting a local animal organization or making a donation in his name to MauiReefs.org, an organization working to maintain healthy coral reefs in Maui County. I'm also asking that we adjourn in the memory of David Lander. We lost David on December 4th at the age of 73. David was known to many because he portrayed Squiggy on the beloved TV show Laverne and Shirley. Across his career, he appeared or voiced characters for over 100 different TV shows and films, including League of Their Own, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, The Bold and the Beautiful, Twin Peaks. He was a lifelong Pittsburgh Pirates baseball fan. In the early 80s, he became a minority owner of their AAA affiliate, the Portland Beavers AAA team. And in the 1990s, he served as a talent scout for the Anaheim Angels and the Seattle Mariners. But in 1984, he was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And after going public with his diagnosis in the late 90s, he worked very closely with the National Multiple Sclerosis Society as a goodwill ambassador to bring awareness to this horrendous disease. And for years, he and his wife, Kathy Fields Lander, they've been advocates for vastly expanding access to healthcare. As his coverage was constantly threatened, they weaved through the complexity of the healthcare system and brought attention to the issue that so many Americans face. Hopefully we'll honor his memory with some real healthcare reform this coming year. David is survived by Kathy, his daughter Natalie, and his son-in-law Jared Hillman. May he and Adam both rest in peace.
Thank you, Mr. Blumenfield. Mr. Koretz?
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to adjourn in memory of Ruth Moss, a beloved wife, mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother who passed away peacefully at age 86 on December 3rd at her Encino home with her husband, George, at her bedside. She lived with her family in Hawaii during the attack on Pearl Harbor and moved to Los Angeles in 1947. She attended John Burroughs Junior High and North Hollywood High School before going to USC. She married her husband, George, a well-respected businessman in the Valley who several of us know well, back in 1954, and they spent 66 wonderful years together, raising a family, traveling the world, and generously supporting charitable organizations. Ruth was an outgoing, kind, and gregarious person with a keen sense of humor and most importantly, a passion for social issues. Ruth assumed leadership as the National Vice President of the Anti-Defamation League. She was a member of the Board of Directors of the Venice Family Clinic, President of the UCLA Medical Center Auxiliary, a volunteer coordinator at the UCLA Neuropsychiatric Institute, and had many other leadership roles in charitable organizations. With George, she established the ADL's Daniel Pearl Award and supported the medical research projects, including those at the UCLA Jules Stein Eye Institute. In addition to her husband, George, she is survived by other members of her loving family, including her daughter, Karen Moss, her sons, Stephen and Richard Moss, a number of grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Ruth was cherished by her family and many friends, and she'll be sorely missed by all who knew her. And in lieu of flowers, the family asks that you make a donation to the Anti-Defamation League or your favorite charity. May she rest in peace.
Madam President?
Yes, Mr. Blumenfield?
May I add a few words, and Mr. Koretz, may I join you on that adjourned memory?
Please.
Yeah, I didn't realize, it's very tragic, I didn't realize she had passed, but I served with her on the Anti-Defamation Board, Executive Board, the Regional Board. Was good friends with her and her husband, George, and their kids. It's really tragic. She was an incredibly generous woman who really cared about the community. So it's a great loss to all. Thank you.
Any others, Mr. Koretz?
No, that's it. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Reedy Thomas.
Well, thank you very much, Madam President. I just simply wish to be added to that of the passing of Michael Robertson, as indicated by Councilmember Buscaino. When I first came to the city, to Robertson, with the Department of General Services, and we built the Constituent Services Center at 83rd in Vermont. He staffed that for the full duration of the time that I was there until my departure. We remained in contact and would see him periodically at the guard station, the mayor's office, fond and appropriate exchanges always. And a long-term resident of the city of Los Angeles, and always had a desire to return to the South, which he did, to live, only to pass away there shortly after his retirement and departure from the city of Los Angeles. He was a credit to the city family, Madam President, and members of the council. We shall never forget him. Staff then, some of whom are on my team now, remember him with respect, and we acknowledge the fact that he has passed. Extend our sympathies, our condolences to his entire family. And we simply say, may he rest in peace, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Bonin.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to adjourn today in memory of a great civic leader in Council District 11, and more importantly, a friend of mine. Craig Eggers of Playa del Rey passed away unexpectedly on November 26th at the age of 67. Craig was one of those guys who had his hands in pretty much anything to make his neighborhood and his community better. He taught Sunday school at St. Anastasia's Church in the Westchester Playa del Rey area. He was very active with youth programs at the Westchester YMCA, donated his time with AYSO and the Boy Scouts. And for a number of years, both before and shortly after I took office, he was an elected member of the Neighborhood Council of Westchester and Playa del Rey, and was particularly engaged on LAX issues and in working through what was then a big era of controversy between the neighborhood and the airport and helping move things forward in a way that benefited the neighborhood. He was a bit ahead of his time. He and his wife, Catherine, whom he followed here from Cincinnati, settled in Playa del Rey, and they had 2 kids, Karen and John, and Craig retired early to support Catherine's career. So she could work full time. He stayed home and helped raise the kids and took care of the household. He was a huge and avid cyclist. He loved cycling, and that's where you could find him almost every weekend. He loved to cook and was known for his incredible chili, his Cincinnati chili. Loved going to musical performances, but his real love, most of all, aside from his community, was his family. He just loved his son, his daughter, and he loved his 2 grandchildren, Tyson and Tanner. He would spend so much time with them, just snuggling or reading books or assembling models. He was just a wonderful guy who was known for his kindness and his integrity and his sense of humor. And he is going to be sorely missed by his family, by his community, and by me personally. My condolences to his family, and thank you for adjourning his memory today.
Thank you, Mr. Bonin. Mr. O'Farrell?
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, we have a friend and a member of the city family who is hurting today. I'd like to adjourn on behalf of our friend, Abigail Marquez, a family member of hers, Tyler Anthony Marquez. I'd like to adjourn today's meeting in honor of Tyler. Tyler was born on April 1st, 1996, to birth parents Carlo Marquez and Carol Zielinski. Tyler graduated from CSU Dominguez Hills with a Bachelor of Arts in Communications in May of last year. He was the CSUDH mascot in 2018. Tyler was also a proud member of Sigma Lambda Beta International Latino Fraternity. He was an avid LA sports fan. Beyond, he loved the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Lakers, the Rams, and the Kings. He was a season ticket holder for most of these teams. He interned for Pantone 294, an agency that organizes events for LA Dodgers fans. Tyler helped organize a number of events across many regions and states. Tyler loved Los Angeles. In 2012, Tyler got his 5 minutes of fame by catching Matt Kemp's walk-off home run at the Dodgers versus Nationals game. He loved his family and friends and was always willing to lend a helping hand. Tyler was a loving and patient big brother and best friend to his father, Carlo. He served as the best man at his dad's wedding when he married Abigail in 2006. The Marquez and Zielinski Tovar families are grieving this unbearable loss of this young man. They'll be establishing a scholarship in his name for future Cal State Dominguez Hills, the Toros. Tyler Anthony Marquez passed away on November 23rd, this past month. On behalf of the Marquez, Zielinski, Arroyo Tovar families, they wish to extend their deepest appreciation to family and friends who've offered support and care during this tragedy. To list all the ways Tyler affected their lives for the better would take hundreds of pages, their family says. They gathered recently to celebrate his life in the spirit of gratitude, for he blessed so many with his special touch, laugh, presence, and love. His beautiful spirit will forever be remembered at his young age, and he will live with the gods. He is survived by step-parents Abigail Marquez, who is our assistant general manager of HSID, as you all know, and Joe Tovar, siblings Natalia and Camila Marquez, and Jacob Tovar. Tyler lives forever in our hearts, his family states. May he rest in peace. And may God give you peace throughout the rest of this year and into 2021 and forever in his memory, dear Abigail and your wonderful family. We're so sorry for your loss.
Thank you, Mr. O'Farrell. And if I can please join you on this adjourning motion. Abigail is a friend and a fearless leader here in our city. My heart goes out to her and her amazing husband, Carlo, and their beautiful girls. You know, all I can say is I can only imagine what they're going through, but knowing how resilient and how close of a family they are, I know they're relying on their faith and their family to get through this. And I just want to extend my condolences to the Marquez families at this time, and also just know that we're here for you, Abby. Whatever you need, whenever you need it. We are a family. We're a city family. We will always be with you. May his memory be a blessing. Thank you, Mr. O'Farrell. Ms. Rodriguez?
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. I too wanted to add myself to this adjourning motion. Mr. O'Farrell, thank you so much. No parent should have to endure the pain of losing their child. Tyler, I know, was a very special part of the Marquez family, and you know, Carlo, I know how tragic this loss has been and impacted all of them, but I know particularly so how devastating Carlo, the devastation of what they're feeling right now with this loss. Tyler was a very important part of the family, and I just want to send my love and condolences to Abby and the girls and everybody whose lives have been touched by his life. And I'm just heartbroken when we found out about his untimely passing, and no parent should ever have to endure that pain. And my love to you all, and whatever they need, we are here in support of you all during these very difficult times. And may we love you.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Any other adjourning motions, members?
Madam
Please.
President?
Yes,
I'd like
Mr.
to be
Price?
added to that for Abigail as well. I'm sure we all would. We know her, we love her, as you so eloquently said. But I'd like to be added to that adjournment as well, please.
Thank you, Mr. De Leon.
Yeah, Madam President, I also too want to add my remarks to all the council members who spoke about the Marquez family. It is a devastating, it's deeply tragic, and especially because, as you mentioned, Madam President, the common thread that weaves through this tragedy is our close relationship with Abigail Marquez, who has an incredible history in City 14. So I just want to add my comments to you as well as the other members.
Thank you. Mr. Cedillo?
Also add my sentiments to your comments, Madam President.
Any other adjourning motions, members? Okay, our meeting is adjourned. Please enjoy your Oh, before I do that, I just want to wish really quickly. We have 2 birthdays. Mr. De Leon celebrated a birthday last week on Thursday, so I want to just wish him on behalf of all of us a happy belated birthday. And Mr. Price is celebrating a birthday tomorrow.
Yeah,
That's right.
Bon compleanno.
That's right. So happy birthday to both of you. Well wishes for you to have an enjoyable day tomorrow, Mr. Price. And members, with that, this meeting is adjourned. Please be safe. Please stay healthy. And we'll see you in the coming year. God bless you.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year.
See you to both of you guys.
Thank you. Happy holidays.